Woodland Hills Metropolitan District regular board meeting for Thursday, January 23rd, 2020. Will now be called to order. It is 5:32. Roll call. Troy Stinson present.
Russell Ryder present.
Neva Harrell, Bella.
Sherry Regan present.
I'll make a motion that we excuse Carl. He's on vacation with his family in Florida for the last week and this week. Crickets.
Sorry, I was trying to get that working.
Crickets. I'll motion that we excuse Carl from the meeting. He's on vacation in Florida with his family.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I'll move we enter executive session for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations under CRS 246402-4E and personnel matters according to CRS 246401F1.
Excuse me, if I may ask, according to the SDA handbook, if there's a personnel to be discussed in executive session, you're supposed to identify what it is pertaining to, and then that person should have been notified prior to state if they wanted it in a closed session or open session.
Yeah, she can, anybody that's having an issue personnel-wise can be done in public session at their request. As a matter of fact, it's been done before, and specifically for directors. And that would be from Collins, Cochran & Cole, a leading SDA attorney firm in Denver that does excellent work in SDA stuff.
Yes, no?
Okay.
What's the section?
It's on page
I don't have it with me.
11, under executive session number 6.
I don't have it with me.
I've got it here for you.
You bring it up here?
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
You can shut your eyes.
No.
Yeah, whatever.
Here you go. I also have the SDA handbook. You can take that to them if you need to.
She's correct.
Absolutely, because that's the law.
Is there a time frame
No,
prior
no.
for notifications?
I don't see it so far, but hang on.
Is there a time frame in there prior to executive session? Do not interrupt.
I didn't say a word.
I don't see a time frame now.
Okay. Then I will retract my motion, and I will move that we amend the agenda for the executive session will be for matters pertaining to negotiations under CRS 246402-4E and personnel matters under CRS 246401F1. That personnel matter being identified as retain or not retain the contract of the current Parks and Rec director that is due to expire on March 27, 2000.
I request that to be done in a public open forum.
Okay, fair enough. Then we will add that to the, I'll motion that we, hang on. How do we need to dictate that for the minutes?
You have made a motion with a scope,
Yes.
and you've identified the person or the position.
Yes.
That's all you need to do.
Okay.
Call it for a vote. You can hand handle the executive session issues now,
We are gonna handle those first.
and then handle the personnel matter, because of the request, after you come out of executive
Okay.
session.
All right, so there's a motion to enter executive session on those two counts.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're now in executive session.
All right.
I'm sure if my boys discover them, they will
thank you.
put them to good use.
Please.
Okay, we are at item number 5, President's welcome and remarks and rules of conduct. Welcome, everybody, to the meeting. We haven't had one for a couple months. I see new faces. Welcome. A lot of things, I know, Jerry, we're gonna have a lot of things packed in this meeting. We're gonna try to get through it as fast as possible. Hopefully, we can be out here by 8 or 9 o'clock. There's a lot of things to go over. It's gonna be a very busy year, very busy district, very busy Falcon this coming year with all the projects. And I think Jerry's gonna touch on some of those when we get to that portion. So, welcome. Would somebody like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I will. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Pace.
Welcome.
Okay, next item will be approval of agenda.
Did you make your adding one item?
Okay, we are adding one item to the agenda. It'll be the contract for the Parks and Rec,
Okay.
or the Parks and Rec Director review
Mm-hmm.
on that.
Do you want?
Yes.
Go ahead, no.
Oh, I was just gonna say, do you want to wait to approve it till next meeting and I put it in there as an amended agenda, or do you just want that amendment and then approve it with that amendment added?
You can approve it as an amendment now.
I'd approve it as an amendment. to
Okay.
this amendment
We
now.
can do that.
Excuse me, sir, will that be under other business in 16?
No, we're gonna push down 16 and 17. We'll put it between public comment and other business.
Okay.
Can you double check with the open, meetings law, Ted? I believe that an open forum, for me to be notified the day of the meeting, I do believe that that is not sufficient time. So can you look into that prior to bringing it up in tonight's meeting?
Well, that would delay considering it tonight, and I don't know the answer to the thought. Okay, so, if we're gonna consider it at a different time, then it's a month from now,
Or a special meeting?
right? I don't know, I'm not disagreeing with you, I don't know.
Sure. I hear you.
Your observation is whether there needs to be prior notice,
Yes,
correct?
yes, not the night of.
I don't think there has to be prior.
There wasn't anything in there, but
There's not written in the statute.
I didn't see it in the section I looked at.
Because employees are at-will employees in the state of Colorado. There is no,
So I have a question. When we're voting on accepting the agenda, does it mean, and this is because I'm new, that we're voting on accepting the order of the agenda or all 67 pages that were in our packet? Because did we all read all 67?
Just, I think it's
it's
just
just the agenda.
itself.
Just the.
The other documents are just the supporting documents.
I wasn't sure because there was so much there.
There was a lot, I know, I'm sorry.
Make a motion to, oh,
But
yeah, we
do
have to figure out. if we're
Yes, do
gonna-
we wanna add that for tonight's?
Let me show you this part. Can you show to?
Do you have a statute, Corey?
You should.
Because we have the scenario with the person who wanted to have the open meeting is also the person who says that the timeline's not okay.
What's that?
That's not necessarily the case.
Okay.
But we,
We can.
I don't see a timeline.
Okay.
It says, has the employee involved been given an opportunity to require the discussion be conducted in public? You have made that request, and that has been agreed to. So that would seem to meet the obligation, because you were asked.
Let me do it this way. Let me do it this way.
Got it.
Would you like to have a special meeting for the review of your contract?
Well, since that it was just kind of like dropped tonight, yes, I would.
You can
And I
do that.
appreciate you asking that.
Okay.
You could do it at a special meeting at another time.
Yeah, I appreciate that
I'm good with
offer.
that.
You, everybody good with
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, fair enough. Let's, then, okay, so.
Okay, so no
So then you don't
amendment.
have to prove the agenda,
Okay.
change to the
You're
agenda.
documenting this, so where was I at on the,
So
You have to approve it because you added a public comment.
that it's still an amended agenda because we did add public comment after we initially
okay, so
posted it.
we're gonna,
It's in your guys, everyone else has it with the public comment,
but
but the initial.
we're still gonna need to take the personnel matter out of
Oh,
executive
yep,
session.
that's true. Take that out of the
Because it was
executive
requested
session.
to be done in open forum. So
Okay,
let's
those
make
two.
sure we make that correction.
Will do.
That is tense in here.
It's just the beginning part, you know.
Oh, no.
Okay, so we are at the,
So
Agenda.
I will motion, we approve the agenda with those corrections.
Okay.
With which correction? Be
Oh,
specific.
God.
Okay, we struck the
Line,
line item for personnel matters. Which means we don't have to add on the new line 16 now.
okay? So then we're accepting them as they are original.
Minus the personnel matter.
Well, an open forum was not in the original posting, so that's what she's saying, they added public forum.
The public comment, so the public comment's not on that out there?
It's on the one here, it's just not on the one that we posted.
So that was added.
Yeah, that was added.
So it's those two changes.
Okay, all right, got it, okay.
All right, my motion stands that we approve the agenda with those changes.
I second.
Any further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I'm sure it's free.
Okay.
Okay, approval, and disapproval of board minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes is written.
You may approve this.
I'll second that motion. You guys need a minute?
I do, I'm sorry.
You've got to figure out your email thing.
Yeah.
Figure out your email thing.
Should
wanna-
take care of it.
Yeah.
Should be.
Email, yes, but I haven't been able to make,
You want a hard copy or time?
on these, oh, yeah, well, yeah. As far as being able to get it on my phone and my tablet, so I don't have to go into my desktop, go through Microsoft 365 every single time. That's my only issue now, the other part, I can, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so,
I have a question.
go ahead.
On the minutes, it says resolution to improve the 2020 budget, and then it was made, it was moved, it was seconded, it was carried, and et cetera. But there's no designation as to what the resolution numbers were, 'cause, and I didn't know if that needed to be in the minutes.
No, because the resolution's filed, it's on record.
That's a good question.
Well, because usually when they do when we do our meetings, we say, I make a motion to accept 2019
Yes.
10 24 and
Yes,
then
correct.
we, vote on it, and it just doesn't reflect that, and I didn't know if it was, since it will be posted for cross-referencing purposes.
Yeah.
What do you want to add?
Personally, I think it should be.
I think it should be added.
Shouldn't all resolutions be numbered? Otherwise, how do you find them?
Exactly.
Did you catch that?
Oh,
Yeah, which it was, but is not reflected in the minutes.
Good.
Thanks.
What's that?
So, we're gonna have to, wait till.
Approve the amendment.
And
She'll change, yeah,
And
she'll
then
change it,
change it.
post it.
Okay,
She'll change it, no
so.
request.
Make your motion.
Want me to?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes with, and I don't know how the wording exactly, with the, addition of the actual resolution numbers to be included.
Right. Okay, second.
Second, all right, so we have a motion and a second, yes, and that's page, just for your record, so it's recorded right, that's page 3 of 4 on the minutes,
And four of four.
and 4 of 4. Number
There's three of them.
Item 13, 14, and 15. Any other discussion on it?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Item 8, attorney's report.
there are negotiations going on with Four-Way on 2 items. They are not resolved at the moment, and we are in negotiations with them, so I'm not going into the content, except to say that it's 2 items regarding Four-Way. That's it.
Okay.
Well, at least that helps from the beginning part.
Right. Approval, disapproval of financials. That'll be item 9.
If I can make a footnote comment, in item 3, which dealt with matters subject to negotiations, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And we don't have a final position to present for the board to vote on.
And that's 3 months of financials.
That's okay.
Three.
So, yes, October, November, December, all in that batch.
No, I know. Yeah. Well, and I didn't really realize on the financials that that's what all it was, because we did all the stuff last time, we saw our budget. And then,
Yeah, because I didn't read through all that, so what do you want to do?
What's the
You
3
can
months?
approve, you can approve it without the, but I can't say yea or nay.
No, because if you have reviewed it, you have reviewed it.
I think you did,
well,
right?
I went through it, but I didn't know.
She didn't know the 3 months was in there.
Well,
Yeah, what I
3
was-
months are in there, and the most important one is the December 31st one's in here, which is the final sheet for the year.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
I
the
got
most
you.
important one that I looked at it backwards when I reviewed it
Did you?
Tuesday night.
Alright.
I started at the balance sheet and went back forward from December.
So from
Yeah,
here
yeah.
on,
That
this
might
one.
slide out to that part, yeah.
So I'm gonna motion that we table consideration on approval or disapproval of financials until,
Okay.
the next meeting. to add, we'll piggyback to that approval of the, since it's 3 months worth, it's a lot, and one of them is the end of the year financial. So let's put that on the special meeting if that's all right.
Okay.
I apologize, it's my fault, cause I didn't get through it. Sorry.
But I would rather everybody have really
Yeah.
good knowledge of those, especially December's.
Would it be better if you guys got physical copies, if you wanted
Yes.
to come to
I
the
think so, I
district?
think some folks would rather have the physical
Okay,
copies.
we always
so-
have them at the district office ready before the meeting, so.
How much before?
I can have them ready on Monday. As soon as I send it out electronically, that means I'm done with my
There you go, that's what I'll do
packet,
then. Alright, thank you. Yes.
So there's a motion on the table to table it to the special meeting.
Second.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, that will be tabled to the special meeting. Parks and Rec report.
Here, do you want to do, renovation? Brian, do you care to talk about it? Yes,
Hard to see it from the It's hard to see it really.
Yeah, I wanted to consider one meeting.
So,
Did we set a date for special meeting in a long time, I forget, like, ahead of time?
Not
we did
yet.
not,
Before
try to
the
come
end
up
of
with a
the
date that was good for everybody.
Yeah, that's the.
Try.
Moving it in.
Nothing will work.
Okay.
Just for everybody.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I think we'll share.
Brian, you can hear and want to speak on it?
Carrie, did you want to speak on this?
What exactly are you doing?
What are we,
Just contact them. Okay, you start, let's, yep.
Okay.
I was
Folks,
reading-
there's seats now.
Not all, but I went to Tuesday, I tried to get to Tuesday. Because you were listening to my notes. So
Right.
I was
So this is
reading
Wayne's here.
I think so, we're almost there, we'll go through this. We might have this wastewater report, annual admin resolution, and then, custodial records.
all right. Hi, I'm Carrie Bauer. I didn't know I was gonna be presenting this, but here we go. Okay, this is the plan for the rec center expansion. If you're seeing this for the first time, it's gonna look a little bit confusing, so let me kind of outline it for you. If you were facing north, this is north. This is where the old building is. If you've been inside the building, this would be the hallway that goes down towards the locker rooms. So that'll give you an idea, okay? I don't know if everybody can see. What the plan was not to attach a building to the old building because that was gonna be a lot more costly and was gonna be fraught with a lot of other problems. The board, when was it, in August or September, approved us to go forward with project management. In August, approved us to go forward with project management. This was then drawn up by the architect. It's been tweaked several times, bringing in certain things. This is a response to this is a direct response to the surveys that were done in 2016 and in 2018, in which it was discerned that what the vast majority of the population is looking for at this time is cardio and weight. Also, a fitness room that's a little bit more versatile and bigger than the one that we're already using, okay? So that's what this design is for. There was some thoughts about doing a gymnasium, but the gymnasium is gonna cost twice plus what this costs. So even if we weren't doing this, we don't have the money to do the gymnasium. So what we elected to do was to address what the population is looking for now. And I'll explain in a moment, there's a section here where this building is going to be roughed in to expand in the future. So in other words, if we decide that we want to break through and add a gymnasium, we're not going to be breaking down walls, we've already roughed it in. So if this is the hallway in the rec center, what we envision here is a covered walkway, that's this section right here. A covered walkway, this is still gonna be outdoors, this is a covered walkway into this new building. This is a steel building that would then be done with stucco and a real roof, so it would look aesthetically pleasing and match the old rec center, but it's not gonna be kind of the brick and mortar that would cost way considerably more. So the covered walkway would then lead from the old rec center into the new rec center. There would not be another entrance, so we wouldn't have to worry about people coming in from elsewhere. If you're seeing that there's doors here, this is gonna be an emergency exit that you can go out in case of fire or emergency, but there will be no access in. Coming in through the walkway, there's an open area here. There are drinking fountains here. Down this direction, right now, the way that it's set up is that the bathrooms are down here on the end and that this is the electrical room. We actually envision that that will be swapped. So that if you come in, go around the corner from the drinking fountains, the restrooms will come first. The electrical will be sitting back in the back. One of the things that the architect did for us to save money, and we have been looking at saving money wherever we can, is this area that's open, and if you think about the hallway, that's kind of when you're looking out the windows going towards the locker room, there's an open space here. Putting all of the electrical or mechanical equipment that would normally go on the roof, putting it in here, that's cost savings significant. I don't have an exact figure for you, but since from the new building, you won't be able to see that anyways, that's gonna be hidden by, oops, sorry. Okay. Just lost my visual. That wasn't good. Okay. So that's gonna be that area here. So you walk through here, you've got the restrooms, the drinking fountain, then you can come down another walkway here. These are windows, all down this direction. Here you have the first entrance into the fitness room. This is going to be a fitness room. It'll be a wood floor on a subfloor, so it'll give. I insisted on that. I'm the line dance instructor, so as to preserve people's joints. So that wood floor will be on a subfloor. In this particular room, the roof will also be acoustically pleasing. In other words, it's going to be sound absorbing. Okay? So there's an entrance to the fitness room here. We've added another entrance here. This room will also have its own storage area. So all that equipment that's around the perimeter right now, whatever doesn't go in the weight room, can go into this storage area so that this will all be open. This wall is what we envision to be mirrored. Okay? Coming back down this hallway, this entire area is going to be cardio and weight. All of that. There'll be an extra storage area just for the cardio and weight room. And this will be an office because this building obviously is going to have to be staffed. Okay? So there's one window out of the office there. And we envision that eventually, if necessary, we could always subdivide this room and use it again for something else. So we're looking towards what we might need to do in the future as well as addressing what the community is looking for now. The cardio and weight room would be filled with equipment that we intend to lease rather than buy. And for those of you that have dealt with that kind of thing, you know that that is a win-win situation. Not only is it more cost effective, but if there's problems with the equipment, the company we're leasing for has to address it rather than us having to address it. Okay, so, did I leave anything out?
Just the bathrooms being switched?
Yeah, I already did that. I already talked about it. Fran, did I leave anything out?
No, but there's two other committee meeting members that were supposed to be here tonight. One had an emergency, and I don't know where John's at.
Yeah, Katie Newbill is also on the committee.
Yes.
She had an emergency, and our
And with the four of us came up with,
Yes.
with this.
So we've been working closely with the project manager. That was approved to go forward with the project manager in August. This is what we've been working on since then. we have a schedule and a timeline. Bear in mind, we gotta deal with the county and with the city, with permits and with everything. But even with piling some of those things together that can be done simultaneously, we would be on course to sign a contract with the chosen contractor at the end of the bidding process by the 5th of May. And that, frankly, if you've done construction, is pretty darn quick, okay? Because there's a lot that has to be done between now and then, and everybody involved is working on getting this done as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, and as cost-effectively as possible. So, I think that's all I have to present. I guess that throws it open to questions from either the board or from, yes, ma'am?
So what are the windows for? Why do we need 50 million windows right there? That's got to cost $1 bazillion right there.
It actually does not cost a lot to put a lot of windows in, and if we are gonna cut costs, that would be where we do it. What we don't wanna have happen is that this thing is like a submarine.
Yeah.
So that if you walk into that, you're completely enclosed.
The other thing is, if I remember correctly, when that survey was done, okay, what I have in the back of my mind is I remember people did say a cardio, but they wanted something for their kids. They wanted a gymnasium to
That was
where.
third on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Actually,
Because-
that was number 2, that
Yeah,
is
that
on
was
the
number
back
2.
page of the survey, that was one of the key takeaways.
You see, there's a lot of high school kids, there's a lot of older kids in this neighborhood. Our demographics are changing, the kids are growing up. We have nothing for older children, nothing, okay?
Well, let me let Fran address that, because if, talking about the cardio and weight room in this building.
Number one is the surveys going back, not the last one, but the one before, they've always wanted cardio. I understand where you're coming from, believe me, I really do. I understand, but the gym at this point was gonna cost 2.7.
Which we don't have,
Compared to,
1.2.
However,
what?
if you have a gymnasium and if we have someplace where we can have basketball games
The
and
money
things where
isn't
we
there.
can rent the
But the money wasn't
gymnasium
there
out.
at the time, I understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
The other way to do this is curtail this until we have the money. I mean, if you're not, like with this, then curtail this until we save up the 2.7 million. We don't have
In
the
which
money right
case,
now.
you can only do the gymnasium and you can't do this.
All right.
2.7 is just the gymnasium.
Yeah.
And if you add up, if you look at the actual survey, and I don't know if Corey can provide copies for everyone, if you add the numbers together, it is well past 50% of people who wanted mostly this. We're not saying we don't want a gym.
No, we do.
We do.
We were trying to see what we could build right now.
We're looking at we're triaging. Let's put it that way.
Building
See, yes.
something that we've already got.
What do
We
we got?
already have a cardio room. You already have a room for your line dancing, whatever. This to me seems like you're making something that's already there.
I will tell you this, I agree with you, Judy, and I agree with you. My thing is, the cardio room downstairs is packed. A lot of the people,
What's wrong with this building right here?
There's a
they
cardio.
can't
What
take
she's
this building
she's
down.
telling.
They tried. What do you
She's-
mean?
she's
No, I
telling
mean,
you.
why can't we incorporate something up here with what you wanna do there?
The
You
way
know,
you're
What do you
doing
mean?
a Cardio?
well, what is it that you do? You want a room to do what in?
The main thing is the cardio and weights, and there's room to add another fitness room, which can be
Yes.
used for in both areas. In other words, we can have classes going into fitness rooms at the same time, and or what we are doing right now in the fitness room over at East is when there are people wanting to rent the place for a party, they're doing it in the fitness room, and that is wreaking havoc with the floor.
Again, what is wrong with this room? What's wrong with this room for parties? What's wrong with this place for
Because
renting
they
it
want
out?
it for the pool, they wanna have the, aren't you talking about birthday parties?
Anything, what
Okay, with the
are we
birthday
doing with
party-
this building?
Well, that, don't.
I mean,
There's classes already being held here.
This-
It's not like we're not using this building.
This to me, I have to strongly disagree. The idea was a gymnasium and then put the cardio stuff maybe around it or something. And this where is this gymnasium going to go?
This way.
Right next to it.
It breaks through, let me address that. This hallway here, going down to the restrooms, again, and the electrical here, this is where we could break through and add on the gymnasium, when the money is there. I can't stress enough that we are not interested in burying a gymnasium. There simply isn't the money. The money is available to do this phase, and we look at this as a phase, phase 1. But that doesn't mean that there is no phase 2, phase 3. So that's what we're doing. We're addressing with the amount of money that's available and what the survey listed as number 1 priority. Not number 2, number 1 priority, and going ahead and addressing that and looking towards expanding further as the money becomes available.
So here was CMG's actual figures from May on the whole project. The design and corporate, now given this was brick and mortar, with steel beams, which I'm assuming is what this is.
It is steel and beams.
So,
Yeah, this is steel and beams.
was for the option 1 plan, which did incorporate this and a gymnasium, it was just over $2 million. For just this was 1.27 million. And don't quote me on the change.
1.25, Corey's saying.
That's what he quoted now, but the numbers he gave us in May were
Okay,
a little bit
well,
higher.
The numbers that we're using
And then the
now.
number for just the gymnasium was 2.2 million for just the gymnasium.
So,
Sorry, with what you just said, can I ask a question really quick? So, I'm part of this committee, but I missed a few meetings because I had other things going on. And I don't know where we went to from a steel building, meaning steel siding, the whole 9 yards, to now trying to go to what we have over there right now. And if anybody has ever spent 1 minute walking around that building, it is a total and complete disaster. Look at the windows, how it's all cracking out. Everywhere in that building is a mess. So I don't know how we went from a
We
steel
didn't.
building.
we didn't. This is still the steel building.
Is it steel beams?
This is the same,
With-
John,
No,
this
I
is no
understand.
different than what we talked about originally.
Steel
This
beams,
is
steel
exactly,
steel
yes.
siding.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
Then I
That's not
misunderstood.
changed. That's not changed. No.
How many windows are those right there? How many windows?
Bearing in mind, the architect can change all of that kind of thing. Right now, she's roughed in,
There's 10 windows in
10.
in the 1.25, there's 10 windows.
yes. That can be changed. That is not a huge cost savings, okay?
My biggest question was I asked, because I showed up at the committee meeting, I don't like being on all the committees and showing up like that, but we were lacking board members on the committee. Was quite price per square foot for the facility, as far as the different buildings, the different things, because I know we have a lot of things incorporated in this building, extra walls and things that wouldn't be in a, even if we went 25 foot longer on it. But have we got a figure on price per square foot? Are we only going through the project manager? Have we gotten a second opinion on price to price compare? Where are we at on all that?
Well, the other group that came and talked to us, that was sent over when Jerry came to visit us,
Yeah.
when we actually nailed them down to giving us figures, the whole thing imploded. Apparently, they were giving us stuff that their boss hadn't approved of, and when it came to a head, they backed out pretty darn quickly, so.
And here's
In the
the
interest-
last page of the survey
Yeah.
if you want to.
In the
pass that around.
interest, now bear in mind, one of the reasons that we're trying to hoof forward, and the reason that we went with Jim, what's Jim's last name again? Spreel. One, he has had dealings with our community and those buildings already. So you save money if you use someone that already has some knowledge and doesn't have to come up to speed. That's number one. Number two, he was bringing it in at a good price. And I just lost my train of thought. What was the other thing?
Another rec centers.
Oh, the reason we are moving forward as quickly as we are and trying to, and bear in mind, this is something that is not new. This has been talked about for a long time, but we are moving at the pace that we're moving because this year, the zoning laws are gonna change. and that's gonna drive up the cost considerably. So we were trying to get in, and we've done that. If we go forward now, we're under the 2019 zoning,
Carrie,
and we have gotten in under the wire.
We were told at the last meeting that is not.
No, that's
true.
not
The
what we
zoning
were
laws
told.
are not
Gonna
changed.
change, that's right.
When the question was asked, are we grandfathered into the 2019, or are we gonna have to work from the 2020? They said no zoning laws have changed, or are
Yet.
changing. Same
Yet.
thing that,
Okay.
that one.
Then
company
never mind.
told us.
I was not in the know about that. That was one of the reasons, that was one of the things that was driving the pace of this, was because we were under the understanding that the zoning laws were gonna change this year. If that's not the case, that's something new to me, and I retract what I just said. But now that we are moving at this pace, we're ready to go. We are ready to move forward.
What is that little empty spot right there when
Where?
you walk into the new building? Right there?
This right here,
Yeah, all the way that area, what is that for?
at this time, that's more or less like a lobby area. That can be utilized in the future. Right now, it's just an entranceway with some drinking fountains. And again, it can be utilized for something else. Bear in mind, when you build a building, you don't exactly know always what you want to use everything for. So if you have some open spaces, just like this fitness room, can probably be subdivided at some point this way, because it's got two entrances. So we're looking towards using all the space that we're creating here for the future, instead of being obsolete by the time it goes up. Yes, sir?
Do we have I mean, obviously, we're moving the cardio equipment, or getting new cardio equipment for this cardio room. Do we have a plan for the existing cardio room in East? And
Yes.
What is that?
Yes, so
Corey.
the cardio room in the east then could become that, as Carrie
party
mentioned earlier, that party room.
Perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
That would be
or
wonderful.
Yeah.
hypothetically,
And
just sort
another
of-
thing for this room was also, if any of you been to the pool and used the playroom, during the summer, I'm a water aerobics instructor, and a lot of my, ladies in my class bring their grandchildren, were turned away because the facility was booked. With that in mind, then they could, since using that room, the one that's across from the playroom, they could open up the playroom and have more,
Right.
another attendant, and have more, so we could get more people in the rec center.
Exactly.
You could do other things with the club.
Right, and children's activities during the
Yeah.
summer.
The same, because
Exactly.
the concern is for the older kids in the development, would it be possible to, I don't know, put a foosball table and a ping
Oh,
pong
sure.
table in there and at least have something?
And that's,
Yeah.
and that's the point.
Yeah.
Once we've created the space,
Exactly.
then we can put things in it as it
And so
becomes
we're obviously
necessary.
not neglecting the
No,
older
gosh,
kids by
no.
doing this.
No.
So we're still gonna make
No.
provisions for them, so everybody gets to be
Right.
happy.
And there's
We
swimming
get
for
the,
children
yeah,
also.
we get the party room. The
Happier.
old fitness room can be used either for classes or for multi-purpose, like what you're talking. I teach at the Y also. We have a lot of rooms there that look like fitness rooms that we call multi-purpose rooms, because we use them for all kinds of stuff. We do training in there, we do things like what you're talking about, and when the kids are out of school, we use all those kinds of rooms for whatever activities, moves our needle at the time. But if you don't have the space, then you're stuck
Yeah.
putting your classes in the space you'd like to
And
use
yeah,
as a
we can use
multi-purpose
the,
room.
we can use the existing space we have as a more dynamic place to
Yes.
take care of different demographics. and-
Absolutely, and that's exactly what we'd be looking at doing. So we wanna expand the rec center to meet the needs of what the community is looking for, but also bearing in mind, you're wanting to keep your property values up. And for those of you that are selling or have moved in recently, I know when I came here 2 years ago, one of the things I was looking for was a community with a rec center. I was not going to buy without one. And a lot of people nowadays actually have not just come to appreciate that, they expect it. And the size of the rec center currently doesn't meet the needs of the size of this community. And the more that they build, the lower the percentage of people it's actually going to be able to serve, the current facility. So we feel that this addresses everything pretty much in a win-win situation.
You first or me?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Harold, you're a board member. Knock yourself out.
I had my hand up twice.
I'm so sorry. I didn't see, I didn't realize I was calling on people anyways.
Well, that's okay. I have a few comments. One was that the survey, which is what the direction was to go off the survey, was based on like 688 responses out of 2,800 homes. So, and when you do surveys, you don't get everyone. there could be another 1,000 people out there that want a gymnasium, but they didn't reply to the survey. So their direction was based on the survey and the use of money.
The money,
The other thing
huge,
is,
the money.
for me, the aesthetics of what it will look like for the surrounding neighbors. And my suggestion, first meeting I went to was Tuesday, I would be happy to take something from home to home to those places right there to say, you know, is this
Do you
acceptable?
want
I
a
don't know
steel
what.
building or do you want it to
Yeah,
look
I
like
mean,
the rec
cause
center?
yeah, if you have a steel building that is steel
Yeah.
that looks like a barn or a
Don't think of it
school.
as a shed. It's
No,
not
I'm just
gonna
saying,
look like
what,
that.
yeah, but what if it does?
No,
we're not-
we're looking at having the outside match.
But we're also looking at not doing that. So, based on the meeting on Tuesday, so anyway, that was just a concern I had. And the third thing was based on the meeting, which, you know, was an addendum to the meeting. When Troy was able to come, and Corey and I, we talked about the possibility of change. Your direction was already set with this. Since then, we talked about a different way to go, with having a gym, combining the cardio and fitness, maybe not having this 2 storages, having one, maybe not an office. And so it was significant, but the feeling was it could be done for the money that this would cost us right now, and we'd still get a gym. But for me, back to the aesthetics of how that will look, I don't know. And I just jumped in, you know, for this last meeting, so I apologize if I'm mucking things up, but, those were my comments.
I wanna add something else about the gym, because one of the things that was also addressed in the survey that would be combined with the gym would be a walking track. That would be like an upper level walking track. When you build a building with 2 stories, now you also have to deal with the ADA. So you not only have all the other costs associated with it, now you're going to have to deal with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now you're talking about elevators, and you're talking about
But
those
if you don't
kinds
do
of
that,
things.
if you're only doing a gymnasium, you don't have. to
But
worry
if you're,
about it.
if you're
We already
talking about
scrapped that.
responding, if you're
Yeah.
talking about responding to the survey,
Long time ago.
that walking track was pretty much very close or right on top of the same numbers as the gymnasium. So it would make sense to combine those two. We certainly
Not
don't plan to
financially.
do it in this building, okay?
Yeah, it wouldn't make financial sense.
Okay.
And Meridian Ranch, on their survey, that was one of their top things from all the people that responded to their survey. So if they build it, awesome, because we
Right.
have reciprocals and we're all part of the same community.
Don't forget something about Meridian Ranch and comparing apples and oranges, and it's not just because we think of them as a rival. They already have the kind of cardio, weight, and fitness facilities that we're envisioning. So it would make sense for them to be looking at another priority at this time. We don't have that luxury. So that's why we're addressing it this way.
I think I'm not quite sure people possibly didn't understand what you were saying just a few moments ago. If Jerry can put the plan back up.
You can press the button, there's a button at the bottom. Yep, and that should move it a little faster for you.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but if I heard you correctly, take the weight and the cardio, replace it with the group fitness room, and look at a gym going where the weight and the cardio room is, and then
Basically,
of course,
and a little bit
because,
bigger.
right, because a gym, a 1-quart gym is 84 by 50,
Right.
you would then have to extend it out. Is that what I'm hearing you
Partially,
saying?
yeah. That was what we all talked about as far as an option. If we can do it with the money and not have to have phase 2, not have to have another 2 million, whatever, then we would get the best of both worlds. It's not as beautiful as this by having a big weight room and then a fitness room. But the fitness classes, if you could be in the gym.
Well, then you can't have other activities in the gym at the same time.
Well, it
That's what
wouldn't-
we're
no, it
trying
wouldn't
to
be,
avoid.
because a lot of the activities are.
There would be no mirrors.
There would be no mirrors in there.
sounds the same.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's what they do at Meridian Ranch. I went
No.
to Meridian
No.
Ranch and.
No.
There's a fitness room in Meridian
Yeah.
Ranch.
No, I
There's
went to
two.
Meridian Ranch, I understand.
I mean, I taught there,
And when
so
there
I
were,
know.
yeah, and I know you did, when there were overflow classes or when the floors were being finished, everybody moved their classes into the gym. Shara's class was in the gym all
As
the
a
time.
temporary.
As a temporary measure, but not as
Well-
a main room. I teach in a couple of places where I have to deal with that. That is wholly unsatisfactory, and frankly, it's for me, looking at it as a fitness instructor, that's a safety hazard. Having the mirrors there and being able to see my class when my back is having to be to them, that's a safety issue as well. So a room, first of all, and second of all, having the floor built in such a way that people can do the kind of pounding that you do in Zumba, in line dancing, and that kind of thing, that's important. So having your fitness in a gymnasium is something you do as a last resort, not as a first resort.
Are the rooms we have now that we're now utilizing, like this one right here,
Yes.
the ones over at East, do they already have the correct flooring in them?
This one is just fine, and the one in East is just fine also. But again, we're doing parties in there, people are lifting weights in there, people are doing all kinds of activities
Well,
in
they
there
are right now,
besides.
and then when we get
Right.
this new building, then they're
But
not.
when we do that new building, then that room can be a multi-purpose room, this one can be, I've taught in this room here, you get more than 4 people in there and it's tight. And my classes are all bigger than that. So, I mean, it's a nice little room if you wanna go in there and do a little bit of exercising, but it's really not big enough for a class.
Well, we have
Whereas
classes in this room twice a week and there are no mirrors.
I won't teach in here,
Mary does.
frankly.
So,
But her classes
to
are-
address your comment, yes, I have reached out, to CMG to, kind of give a rough estimate of costing of that.
Yeah.
That would be awesome, you just, you know.
Go ahead.
it's- so-
Now can I?
Yes, Ron, sorry.
Okay, I've listened to everybody here, so I'm gonna try to digest this as quick as I can. We currently have an outstanding debt on the bonds of about $3 million for the first 2 sets of rec centers we haven't paid in 20 years. Something you might wanna keep in mind. Also, what I haven't heard yet is what's the additional cost gonna be to the users for building this building, expanding the buildings, even if it's at the lesser number of let's go with $3 to $4 million, okay?
No, 1.25 is what
I'm
we're
talking in
looking at.
totality, let me retract and go back. In totality, between $3 and $4 million, would that be the correct estimate? You said 2, whatever the number was?
In totality for what?
The whole thing.
All right, well, we're not looking at the whole thing at
Right,
this
but if you had to, and you had to expand later on, so right now we're looking at 1.2 million, what's the additional cost to the user to pay for it? If we had to go up on fees?
Corey, can you address that?
You mean for operational costs?
Yes, ma'am. That and the additional charge to the Woodman Hills residents.
Well, it's really hard to say when I get, this plan and then we switch to this
Okay.
plan.
Let's go back to our original
So,
plan, because we had numbers for that.
Once I get something solidified, I could
Yeah.
maybe do it better. The first business plan was based off a gymnasium. So, Ron, I really can't answer that.
No problem.
Can I piggyback
can't
onto
certainly
that though?
get that.
Because I know that we talked about that in the past, and the operational costs far exceeded what was gonna come in.
Right.
So there was gonna be something that was gonna happen if we did that. I wasn't for that, and I made sure everybody knew that. Has that changed?
That was based off of a brick and mortar. When you do something like this, some of your overhead.
Well, that's just the initial
your
cost, I'm
utility.
talking about operational. So
Yeah.
the initial
Right.
cost is the building.
Which
Operational doesn't
which
change.
we're saving money on.
Your utilities would,
Yeah.
that would go down, which is a huge issue. The maintenance would go down because it's not a brick and mortar. What else? Let's see, your staffing will pretty much stay the same. So,
But
there
I
are
remember
some-
that meeting, and you did bring that up.
Yeah, that
And we
was in
talked about
November.
moving forward with a design that provided multi-use space so that we could allow outside the district and we could recoup revenue
Yep.
to
And
pay for
Cardio
it, to
one,
pay
yes,
for
we
it.
did talk about
And I
that.
gave a projected of, high-end out-of-district usage and low-end. Your low-end out-of-district there's lots of different schemes. I simply gave you guys a simple scheme of out of district. You could bring in $90,000, that's just limited the amount of out of district schemes. That portion is infinite, and that's something that as you get closer, you would need to solidify, we're only going to have X number of youth out of district, X number of 60 plus, X number of adult, and then you can base your revenue off of that. What are you gonna charge? for an out of
We
district?
already
I
have
presented-
non-residents coming in
I
and
gave you all
using the
something
facility.
about that sometime,
Yes,
I
your
believe, in the
estimated
summer.
gross revenue for a gymnasium was $195,000
I'm not,
annually.
no, not that one, I'm talking the out of district,
Mhm.
that I presented, I believe it was sometime recently, maybe over the summer, some out of district schemes that you can do. Again, it was a very basic one with, I think I had maybe 60 memberships. You could go 400 memberships if you wanted, and then of course your revenue would go up significantly. But that business plan was 2018. In a one basketball court, you cannot expect to bring in a lot of revenue. You just not imbalancing your resident use, your youth sports use, your adult use. You're not gonna bring in a lot of revenue with a one basketball court and not keep your residents happy. I wanna go in and shoot baskets at 8 o'clock at night, but I can't, cause I got a rental in there that we're making $300 on. So programming will become very imperative as you all move forward on this.
Right, I understand that.
But to
So,
give you
if I
the
remember correctly though,
operational, yeah, you were very concerned
operational
on
was
the
like
operational.
500,000 in the red,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
annually.
Okay, so I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here,
Yes.
so let's be hypothetical. How many people are getting turned away from group fitness classes?
well, they're,
Honestly,
yeah, they're free right now.
but how many people are getting turned away
I would
because there's
say
not enough
per
space?
day, about 5 to, like using the playroom, I would say in a week's time, maybe 15, 20.
So we just started free classes since January. A lot of, if they're turned away, it's, we don't have room in our child watch. We're
Right.
very limited in our child watch. We can
So
take
we're
12
expanding our group
children.
fitness area for 15 people,
For 15 people.
that we still don't have the room for child
Well, no,
watch.
Wait, what do you
no,
mean?
no.
They would use what is now the weight room as an additional child watch, if I'm understanding.
Or
Yes.
child activity room.
Yes,
Yes.
and the child,
Which would increase staffing costs.
yes, well, no.
No, that's gonna be in the
Well, I
same
have-
building as
we have
currently.
two in there
No,
now,
wait a
so they just split the groups into
there, you guys wanna
separate.
talk about flooring in that room. Sorry, I totally interrupted you and you had your hand
No, no,
raised.
ma'am, it's okay, I want everybody to get what they gotta get going, cause my
Which-
train of thought's already gone.
Yeah, which,
I had it, I was on a roll for a second.
Sorry.
which room are you referring to now?
You're talking about expanding child watch across the hall,
If necessary.
if necessary. So how are you going to properly staff that and divvy that up? How is someone going to physically watch kids, two groups of kids across the hall from each other? You
You're
wanna
bringing
talk
in
about the
two
flooring
instructors.
and the mirrors in there? You're gonna let kids in there?
No, you're
No,
bringing
The
in
flooring
two
is
instructors.
Yeah, in the cardio room.
Wow. There's no mirrors in the cardio. Wait, are there?
No, not in the cardio room.
No, there's no mirrors in the
And the
cardio,
group
not the fitness.
fitness,
It's not the
they're
wood
gonna
floored fitness.
Yeah,
it's the
typically,
cardio.
if you have an
And there would be
overflow of
unattended
children in a child watch, you do.
Mr.
Yes, go ahead.
Separated, it's not hard to do.
No,
Thank you.
it's done all the time.
I wanna be on this committee. I've been here 13 years and I've been on one committee since I've been here, and I quit that committee because people had these opinions. And I sat there and listened to everybody pontificate day after day after day. And I have a construction background, and a lot more than people in here think I do. Okay, not only was my family born into it, I owned a company for 20 plus years. I know numbers. I know numbers better than a lot of people in this room, not blowing my own horn, but that's just the way it is. The fact is, I wanna know how these committee members were picked, why I wasn't asked to be on this committee. Is it because, what, I'm not a well-liked person? Okay, get over it. The question I have is, everybody in here wants one thing. What is the goal of expanding this building? Are we trying to generate revenue? Are we trying to expand debt? What are we trying to do here? Because at the end of the day, the citizens that aren't here tonight are probably wondering, wait a minute, we took a survey that said no. We took a survey that said no more money. We took a survey that said we're not gonna spend more than $10. That was a survey I posted on my website, which took teeth pulling to get. So the question is, if you want something from us, like everybody wants, and I understand somebody wants something, whether it's money, a glass of milk, or something, you need to get this out to the people, and not in some little meeting somewhere where I wasn't attending apparently, and apparently I missed a bunch of committee meetings, and I've been here the whole time. So my question is simply this: if you're doing the job of communicating is this bad now, how's it gonna get when you start asking for cash? And we have a communications expert in the room apparently, but yet, don't please, my train of thought. Okay, so my question is, why is there somebody like me who has a big mouth, we'll concede that, right, and has 2 websites, and have no problem telling everybody what you want, and I can articulate it in a way that people can understand, as you've all read some of my posts. So the question is, why? Like Mr. Martin came in here, wasn't exactly sure what was going on, then he had to get clarified on something else, and then she wasn't understanding something, and well, now you want to go back to the original design, and I asked her a simple question about what it's going to cost, you know, when you're looking at the ROI on this, the return on investment, which is something they teach in Business 101. What is the goal of what you're trying to do? Are we trying to bring more people in? Are we trying to make money to pay off debt? What is the goal of adding this building? Because we still have debt from 20 plus years that we're sitting on and paying every month. And there isn't less than 100 people that I hear from on an annual basis that are screaming about these water bills. So my question is, why am I not on a committee? Whose phone? Oh, that's okay. Tell them large cheese, pepperoni. And then, so that's the question. We can debate this right here now, or have a side meeting, call a special meeting, tell everybody to show up to the special meeting, even use the school like we used to do, and have people show up and say, hey, we want this or we don't, to either put it to bed, or then start spending the money. Because here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna have buyer's remorse. And some people are gonna find this to be fancy for the first couple of months, then they're gonna be like, I don't wanna pay for this no more. How many have had that feeling? And not only that, even if you do start inviting other people in, well, there's the liability issue, right? Now we got everybody showing up. Woodman Hills wasn't built to accommodate what you're trying to do. That's what I've always told everybody. This was only supposed to be meant to be a 2,500 rooftop special district. We're now trying to expand it for, I don't know how many people you think are gonna come here. I don't, that number I don't know. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm off base, but maybe if you think about it for a minute, let's think about it. Because us going back and forth means somebody's not communicating. And I know John's smart enough to know what he's doing, and I know Fran is, and I know this young lady over here is. So why can't we do that? Because somewhere along the line, communication is broken. I mean, the man walked in, didn't know from a hole in the wall, then he had to ask somebody, and that's not fair to John. John was in the committee. If I was in the committee, all the committee members, since it's not a board, could have, emailed this, well, John, I want blue siding with pink shutters, and I want to go with a brick foundation and steel, or like what we just talked about, stucco. And you're right, the outside of the building is junk because after a while, what happens to stucco? It comes off. Right? Now, if you want an example of a fine steel building, go over to the Patriot Learning Center where the HBA and the school builders people put up a steel building. It's actually a really nice building. My son goes there. It's a very nice building, but it's brick on steel. So the bottom half is brick, it looks really nice, and it's red. But it's aesthetically a nice building. I don't know what the cost is.
So,
yeah.
yeah, so, and you're not wrong. And my take has always been, I'm down. I mean, I want this as much as everybody else that wants it, but nobody wants to have to pay a significant more for it. We saved up money so that we can pay for the building. My biggest issue was operational costs were far exceeding what was gonna come in, which was then gonna cost all of us so much more money. That was my problem that's never been addressed.
All right, let me just say something really quickly. First of all, I wanna address the issue with the other committee member.
Who wanted to talk to you.
I really apologize.
And she has a bedtime.
I was gonna say, she has a bedtime, she
you wanted
came
to talk
here
to us?
and
Yeah.
Potential vote right here for us.
and, well, this is
Come
a
on
whole
up here.
other thing in itself.
She
Go
can
ahead.
come up
She
here.
had her hand raised, go ahead, turn around, tell them what you wanted to tell them.
What you wanna tell?
Say it nice and loud. The parks are unsafe.
The parks are unsafe.
Yes. Balkan Park has rebar sticking out. There's about 10 poles. And I know on construction sites, they're supposed to have rubber caps that go on top. And those are around gentlemen who know what they're doing. And the park, okay, yes, poison. And at the construction site, you're supposed to have caps on them, and the gentlemen know what they're doing. and to be aware of them, but at the parks, I mean, kids are running, they're playing, they're falling, you know, they're catching things, they're not paying attention. And also the plastic that it was enclosed in, is broken and it's also sharp. The netting that's supposed to keep out the weeds from underneath, the mulch, it's all exposed and it's like right wherever the slides come down and right around the jungle gym. And it's a tripping hazard. And we just recently moved to the community. We've been here since October. And before the weather got too windy and cold, we tried out all of the parks and within Woodman Hills. And every single park, every single one needs a lot of love and attention. And I just don't know. I mean, we moved from Douglas County and we were with the Meridian Metropolitan District, and our bill was substantially less than 50% less, and our parks were outstanding. And I understand we were within the city, and it's different here from Douglas to El Paso, but just for the amount of money that we're paying, I mean, it just basic safety isn't being performed, and so we don't even feel comfortable utilizing the parks. And then kind of to touch on this, this looks great, but because of the bill that we're already paying, like I'd love to go do classes, but I do have 2 little ones, and frankly, we can't afford to pay additional money to have, you know, child watch. And so, I mean, this is wonderful, and I'm sure the mass majority, but I know there's tons of children in the community, and if the parks are unsafe, and especially during the winter time, I'd love to bring my child to go do something fun indoors, but there's no way I'd be able to pay to utilize that room on additional with our bill. So that's just our input. She has a bedtime. She wanted to say
Yes.
first.
Well, thank you, little one. Thank you, little one. We appreciate
Can you
that.
give your name to that man right there in that brown shirt?
Yes.
And the contact information for you, and can you, in the morning, address those concerns, at least get eyes on those?
So,
And I also had, just because I'm here and there seems to be a lot of people here, and we were mentioning grandchildren and et cetera. And again, I'm new, so I don't know, but the current park and rec board, I don't know how many people make it up. I don't know who's on the board, what their demographics are, but I think it would be great to have, if there isn't,
The committee or
a
board?
mom from the community,
They're the-
you know, 'cause
This is the board for the
Oh,
district.
well, hi. I don't, okay, well, I'd love to kind of help and have input.
elections
You
are
have to
coming up.
leave, but we are getting ready to go over the election, resolution here in a little bit.
Okay,
And the gentleman running the election is in the back of the room, and we'll cover all that.
okay.
But those nomination packets, it will be advertised when they are at the district office. I think they're gonna be open the whole month, if I read that correct, the whole month of February.
Okay,
So those will be available.
okay. Well, I'm gonna put my name on the ballot, so. feel
All
free to
right.
take
Good.
my
Great.
Great idea.
So,
My name
Welcome.
is Brittany Menard,
Okay.
so look for that ballot with Brittany.
All right.
All right. If you don't come
So,
to the next meeting.
back to what I was,
apologize, have to
back to
do
what
that.
I was saying, and I wanna dovetail on something that Brittany just said as well. As far as communications on the committee has been excellent, and if John was a little bit not in the know, he knows why, because due to his own personal circumstances, he had to absent himself from a number of meetings, but we have had excellent email communication. I haven't been able to be there every single time either, and when we have someone absent, so we have not had bad communications on the committee. And as far as why are we doing this, same reason you're doing everything else, same reason you wanna improve the park, same reason you do landscaping, same reason that you do snow removal, same reason that you get the roads repaired, it's to keep your property values up. That is the main reason for this board and for everyone else to exist, is to get your property values up and keep them there. And if the rec center continues to be able to serve a lesser and lesser percent of your population, that's going to have an effect on that. And that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Brittany.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
One
coming.
thing that
Nice to
relates
meet
to her
you.
question. Corey, didn't we at one time, I thought you had said, I don't know, a year or more ago, that we were getting grants from the state that would help, or grants from somewhere to help improve our parks? Or am I totally wrong about that?
Not the parks.
So we've never gotten anybody from anybody, any money from anybody for the park?
Just the
GoCo funds, right?
Yeah, it's,
Well, he needs to, yeah, there's GoCo funds, okay.
so.
Mr. Martin has GoCo funds.
Being that we've solidified the plans pretty much, would it be possible to convene like a community information night, send out flyers and get a big projector,
Yes.
maybe at the school, something like that, and have everybody come in and
Oh,
be like,
love
this is
it.
what we're doing.
Yeah, we love it.
And, yeah, I think that would
Yeah,
definitely
the more
improve
input,
communication
the
between the
more
committee and the
information,
residents.
the better.
Exactly.
And if people have a vested interest in it, obviously that's going to be a plus.
Set up a mic and they can all complain.
Yeah, let them all say what they've got to say about it,
And just
absolutely.
to
And
clarify real quick, this is what the committee wants, the board has the final decision.
Right.
And it's a
Once-
super majority vote of the board, and I can tell you right now that I feel the majority of the board is not happy with this.
Yeah, I'm saying, once the board kind of decides on everything, there's an actual plan that's been voted on and passed going forward, if we convene a community information night, maybe at the school, just something with a big projector, you can tell everybody, hey, this is, based on your survey, this is what we're doing, cookies in the back, microphone up there, feel free to complain.
I love it.
I am, that's something definitely that we wanna do, cause we want everybody in the community to speak up. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things I wanna bring up is
Oh,
something
I was
that-
talking to him back
Oh,
there, I'm sorry.
Alright, well, go, whoever it is, go. No, you first, you haven't said nothing.
Yes.
If we're gonna vote on this and have a separate committee as far as what this is gonna cost Cincinnati, can we make sure it's not half-baked?
It's not what?
Not half-baked,
As far as what?
operational costs,
Mhm.
what's it gonna cost a homeowner?
Mhm.
You know, the biggest thing we're missing out on is that if you're looking at, you know, and I think the point was made is this revenue piece, you know? Because you're not gonna build any more houses in this area, that it's gonna actually grow and actually pay for all of this needed right away. So if you're looking at external growth and other people coming in, be able to use facilities, I'm fine with it. But, what's it gonna cost? And how you gonna build that building?
And that's my point as well.
I
I'm
love
with
the
you.
fact that the board has moved this year to having free services, because we've been paying this bill for years. You know, I've been in the community here for 10 years, I've lived in Falcon for over 35 years.
Wow.
I went to high school when it was middle school, right? Went to grade school, which is Patriot Learning Center, so I've lived here forever, been a part of the community. I'm a Colorado native, my wife's a Colorado native, fifth generation Denverite. So, we're in it for the community is concerned, but we don't have costs, there's no figures. You know, and that's the problem. So as a homeowner, I wanna know what it's gonna cost me. If I know it's gonna be $5 more for a house, or we're gonna have a better facility, I'll pay the $5. Just tell me what it is.
Right.
If it's gonna be 50, and then 75, and then we're gonna tie it up with inflation, it's another 1.9, 2.1, 2.9% more in inflation every year. And then we're gonna look at repair costs, all the other things. You know, we're not looking at operational grants, what the county can get, what we can get from the city. You know, there's other things too that people can donate as far as the community is concerned. You know, if you talk to the right construction people, you'd be surprised if you get on a project like this.
Yeah.
One thing I want to
So-
say about this, because this is about the third time that this has been out of the gate and then snuffed, if it gets snuffed.
Yeah,
The amount of money that's been spent to get it here.
right.
That also would have to be, you'd have to think about what does that cost every household just to get us here.
Sure.
Either you wanna do this or you don't.
Well, like I said, I don't have a problem with doing it, I just need to know what it costs. You know, and if you're gonna have a cost offset, because right now what we did is we said, hey, there's no money for classes for people that live in Green Ranch or in Woodland Hills. right?
No, they're not paying, is what we're saying.
Correct, I'm paying you every month.
No, so do I.
I'm paying something, right?
No, but as far as having to come in and pay, now the residents don't have to
So
do
the
that.
benefit is that, see, before, you know, and I've been in this community, we live right up the road, you know, for over 10 years. And I paid for one class. And I haven't gone to one class until they were offered for free. Because I pay the water bill, and I pay that fee every year for rest. And I used to own, I was the third house that was built in Meridian Ranch when we first developed it. So I know all about the facility. You know, because I donated a lot of money to that for several years, you know? So, and my wife and I, we went out there and visited it the other day before we actually went in and had to get new cards and all that stuff for this division, okay? And their facility is amazing. It's pretty.
Mhm.
It's not the same, right? Different community, I get it, it's not apples and oranges. But if we're gonna come with costs, right, and show us the costs across the board, you know? That's it, it's all numbers. what this costs, what it's gonna set up, what's it gonna cost to actually keep it, maintain it, and everything that's important too. You know, depending on what we're building as far as that goes. And I think when you ask your project managers, they're gonna know, cause they build buildings. And they're gonna tell you in 10 years, we're gonna paint it. In 5 years, we're gonna put new flooring. In 3 years, we're gonna do this. Need a new roof.
You're gonna have to do that if you have any kind of a rec center.
Right.
Yeah, you have to do that if you have any kind of a rec center.
Never maintained it.
Well, sure.
So it's falling down around us.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I, in 10 years, and I have to shame myself, this is the first time that we've come to a board meeting.
Oh, shame on
You
And
picked
I'll
a
tell
good
you-
meeting.
I'll tell you why.
You picked a busy one.
There's
So,
people falling asleep in the seats.
one of the reasons is because, you know, and I actually did some speed watching, so like binge watching, you know, Woodland Hills, meetings is not a good time, so. However, that being said, right, you know, if you wanna read the newspaper and sit in a special spot, probably get entertained, but, you know, the reality is that, you know, the reason why we come is because there hasn't been a whole lot of movement going back and forth. And we were encouraged by some other members to show up, you know? And I think a lot more people would come if we actually figure out how to make it more productive. And so, anything that I ever do in business has to do with who, what, why, how, where, and when. You know? And if we can get that down on a project like this, it's nothing. So, that's it, just a suggestion, so.
There'll be nomination forms at the
Yeah,
district
what's your name,
office.
sir? Sure, what's your name?
Neil Erickson,
Hi, Neil, thanks for coming.
I appreciate it,
Okay,
thank you.
The other nice thing about this board compared to the last board is the last board, you would not be speaking like this. You would not have a group interaction, you would not have everybody talking.
That's good.
It would
Okay.
be, you've got your 3 minutes and you're done.
We're good, one
That's
order.
fine.
Let's go ahead. Thank you, Neil. I appreciate that, really do.
Are you done with this?
Yeah.
We good?
I still want to be contacted by the committee because I got questions. I'm not gonna core them.
Is not the basic issue gym versus no gym?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Well, that's
Mr.
not
Manolo.
just the basic issue.
Yeah, it's not.
The cost, maintenance, everything.
With the gym, it's more
is-
expensive.
Right.
But, yes.
Okay, so that's what needs to be resolved. Gym, no gym. More expense, less expense.
Can I,
Well, no project
the
at all.
survey,
I just passed it
It's
around.
gonna be big
Yeah,
one. They already did it.
on the survey that we as residents took that we paid for, the gym was a no-go. Why
No.
is it that?
No, it
No,
was
the
number
gym was
two.
number 2.
Okay, so right now,
The cardio
We
weight
can
room was number
afford-
1.
number one, why is the gym still such an issue?
It's not that if we can't do it's the operational costs are so high, your bill's gonna go up, we don't know. I can't say a yes on a blank check.
I understand that, but to me, we paid for a survey. The gym, or the weight room and that came in number one. Why isn't that our focus? Where is the gym still being brought into the picture?
Go ahead. Because it was even though that was number 1, it was a very close second for the gym.
Hand grenades and horseshoes are
Hang on,
close.
understood. That's funny.
So,
But
we're
the
looking
other
at.
issue being,
Go ahead.
the number of people that came back on those surveys was very low.
Yeah.
How do we say that we're gonna do this and then we're gonna be okay with, the people that did the survey are okay with a $50 increase to do it when an unbelievable majority don't use the facility and don't wanna do it?
Everybody had a chance to do the
Understood.
survey. The ones that did, their responses should be honored. What is the point of having the survey, paying
Okay.
for it, and then ignoring it?
We're not ignoring it, so
You're adding
again,
on to it. You're getting what
again,
you want.
I'm gonna go back to, how much are you willing to pay per month more for that facility?
That, I think first, if you want residents to continue to answer your surveys, to pay for your surveys, then you have to honor the surveys. What is the point?
I am, you're missing the point.
No,
I'm not getting anywhere, you go.
You two sound like my husband.
No,
Okay, everybody leave the room.
Can I answer you?
My money's on her.
Because I'm confused.
So we had brought up the point of that we're trying to maximize the money we have. To get the most that we can out of that money, cause with the way the district has to do financing and budgeting and auditing and all that stuff with the state, it's very minute on what you can do. Everything has to be allocated to capital projects from year to year. If there's any money left over, it has to be allocated to next year's capital project. So everything has to be allocated everywhere. So what we're trying to do is maximize the money that we can allocate at one time, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over and over again. Now, we have had those discussions about, we have this plan. But right now, all we can do is plan and see what the cost is, and then come back to you guys and say, this is what this costs, this is what this looks like. Now, we've discussed the gym, we've discussed the gym weight option, we even talked about, okay, well, what if we just cut off half the building and just put that bigger cardio weight room there? That was number one on the survey. That may cost a quarter of what we were looking to spend and answer everybody's. So there's a lot of options on the table.
No, right now, I think we're all just seeing the option that is including your gym. And I think that's.
That doesn't include the gym.
Well, but that's what we're hearing. Everything we're hearing is including the gym. I just feel like it's, you threw the survey out there, you got the results, and now it's being disregarded. And what is the point? What is the point of paying for those surveys if our opinions are not gonna be respected?
But that doesn't make any sense. The number one response on the survey was a cardio and weight room. That's precisely what the plan says.
Right.
Then number two response was the gym. They said, well, if we had the money, wouldn't it be great to have a gym? We don't have the money. The questions are coming up, what is it gonna cost? And the committee, I don't think, has gotten far enough in their planning to estimate all that. So when that all gets estimated, it's gonna be brought to the board, and thus the residents can sit on in that meeting and figure it out. I think we're just debating this with too many nebulous unknowns at this point. If we let the committee do their job and they'll move forward and say, okay, we've discovered it will cost this much to heat it, this much to staff it, this much to run it, it'll make approximately this much money to offset. Then we can all get upset and argue about that.
This discussion, this was an update
Yeah.
from the committee tonight. That's it.
We're getting sidetracked by
Nothing more. We're getting way into the weeds here, a long way down the road, further than what we are, realistically, at this point. That's whole, and maybe that's, I'll take onus for that we brought this up, but we wanted.
I do wanna say though, she's right about one thing. As long as we keep muddying the waters with a gym that we can't afford, and we know we can't afford right now, it's a little tough to continue moving forward with what we can afford. I think that as long as we focus on that, and if what the board wants is for the committee to decide what the operating costs are for that plan, that's one thing, cause that's what we've been working towards. But to now say, no, now we gotta include a gym, or we gotta do option B and C and D and E, then you're spinning your wheels all over again. Let us continue on this path and move forward with putting together the answers to those questions without making muddy waters. That would be what the committee is asking.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, real quick, so to kind of tie this up. Years ago, when they did the study, it was basically $110 an hour to run the district, to run the rec centers. Basically what we did was we took the operating costs, and myself and a couple other people basically come up with how many people it takes to run the building and how long it would do that. So what they came up with was a number that said it would cost $110 an hour to keep both buildings open. Then they closed this building to save money, because that was one of the issues that was brought up. Everybody remembers it. I was here. I was at a public meeting. The second one, everybody's emphasized that people are getting older. Okay, now the question is, where's that cutoff? Because if we're all getting older, right, and the kids are gonna move on, and we start having some gray hair people in the room that may not wanna be using certain amenities, that brings up another issue. And two, who has an objection to me being on the committee? Because I'm gonna sign up for it tomorrow. Good, glad there was nobody that said no. Now, ma'am, on you.
Nobody just said yes.
Oh, who said that? Did you say that, Eddie? Well, me and you don't get along anyways, right?
Let's go to the next number. Let's
Man.
move
Yeah,
on.
let's-
Yeah, I think we beat this one.
Can we go ahead and look at what, addressing your
The
questions?
operational costs?
Yes.
I would say not on that plan. If we're going to stick to the survey as this woman says and as the community has expressed here tonight, that building needs to just be cut in half and we just do the look at weight and cardio room and that's it.
I would be happy to spring for a porta potty and a weight bench.
I mean, I don't think we're at that point yet to,
I think we need to scrap it.
What is the time to take out on current research that's already been done?
So the thing is, the resources are already working anyway, so it's not like extra money out of our pockets for getting the extra work done. The issue is, this costs money, that's the issue.
Yes.
And I don't wanna put more money
no.
into that guy's hands until we have a better idea of really where we're supposed to go here.
But I think one of the biggest problems is just like young lady just talked about all the parks, amassed and so.
I think that's a good point too, yeah.
Current infrastructure as far as what needs to be done, and it doesn't mean we don't need a better gym, a better rec center, and a better facility, not at all, but right now, we have half the information.
You should have been at meetings this whole time.
Yeah.
So
I'm ready here now.
Yes.
The money's been spent on putting forth this project, let's at least let them finish and figure out what the operational cost is, and if the operational cost is enormous, then we can say, okay, let's cut it in half, then that will decrease the operational cost by a fraction, at least we have some information to work from. At this point, based on cost for operation, we have no information to work from, let's let them finish their job.
The other route we could go is figure out, what do we have
I'm not cutting you off.
what do we have for revenue? And say, what does it take to reach that without a whole bunch more money coming out of our pockets? Instead of trying to go, all right, we got this building, what does it cost? Nope, that's too much. We got this building, what does it cost? How about we go with, we can afford this, how do we match that?
Thought we did that originally.
No, you didn't.
Well, we were told originally, but then we didn't have the money that we got.
I don't know about that either.
I thought we outlined all of that the
It's-
last time that we met.
No, so when I made that back in, I think it was August, about that operational cost, because that's when it came forward to me. I made that as my primary focus, and then it was, I guess, I don't know where it went.
On the operational side, we gotta SG&A.
What, I'm sorry, what?
You gotta bring that.
Okay.
Oh.
So, if you're looking at irrigation, cost of repairs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything's gotta be included.
That was in that King study.
And
That was originally why we had talked about going the steel building direction. You get
Because,
further warranty, easier maintenance on them.
and just so you know, the operational cost that I did get did include that. It
Yeah.
included all the maintenance and all that was in there.
All right, the committee was formed when you were at, and you asked us to make a plan to
Mhm.
address the survey. We've done that now.
We have.
What
Yeah.
we need to know exactly is concretely what you want us to do next.
Get that operational cost into the black.
That's not what we heard. We heard you wanted to see the
We
weight
wanna do the
cardio
plan.
being
We
moved
wanna do
over
the
to.
plans.
Yeah, you're talking now about asking us to develop different plans.
What do
Is
you,
that
I mean,
what
what do
you're
we wanna,
looking for?
With that one.
Can you table it till the next meeting?
Yeah, I really think we
so,
have
yeah.
to.
So are we telling Jim and the guys that were over there last week doing soil samples and
everything's, all that is already, I believe, are they already, did you already do soil samples?
It's,
Line
they've been done.
locates?
They've been done,
Why would,
and all of the discussions with the county is based on this. So I know if we add a gym, you have to have two additional bathrooms because of a gymnasium. I already asked Jim yesterday to go ahead and start looking at moving the gym, take the weight and cardio room, flip-flop it where the group fitness room is, take the weight and cardio room and look at expanding it to a gym. I've already asked him to start costing that.
And what are the estimated, we don't even have estimated operating costs, do you?
The cost that you were given was 2018 on brick and mortar.
So can you get us-
Lot different than this, yes.
See, I don't know, do we get that route then on the building, what they're talking about doing?
You have to kinda, do you want,
But I don't wanna spend any more money on soil samples and other things until we have that.
oh, sure.
It's gonna cost significantly more if you ask us to develop new plans.
Understood.
The most cost-efficient thing would be, if you wanna know what the operational costs are for that,
I know.
let us do that.
I already touched on that, I don't want him to spend any more money right now.
No, I'm talking about what you're asking for is operational costs, and
Correct.
a lot of that is stuff that we already can get out of the rec center,
We
information,
can get the
staffing,
operational costs on
heating,
this design.
electric,
Right.
all of
Jim
that.
is getting a costing on flip-flopping this plan, including a gym, so it would extend the building, get rid of the group fitness, put the cardio weight there. He's getting costing on that.
What's the cost on that?
He's working on it.
Yeah,
As
we just
in-
asked for that, so we had not asked him to develop that, because
Okay.
that was not the direction
I
we
could
wanted
Right.
to go.
At Monday after, or Tuesday after we had finished.
Right.
You understand my question though? Okay.
Because operational costs are gonna be set based upon the plans. Revenue is variable, right? You know, you can do 100 different things and the board will have to decide what plan to do to make revenue, but cost is gonna be set. So
Correct.
then it'll be the board's responsibility to adjust a revenue plan to make that cost go in the black, if it's at all possible. But you gotta know what cost is before you deal with revenue.
Exactly. But when we had the initial operational costs, that also did include incoming. So we had this coming in, this is what it was gonna cost to go out.
Sure.
Those numbers were way off, so that was the issue.
400 something.
That's a lot.
Actually for the cardio weight fitness room was $427,000. For the gym was $331,000.
A good majority of that is your maintenance and your utilities.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Earls. I'm not as well spoken as she
She's a
is.
smarter one.
Go ahead.
I don't know how to say this quite as eloquently as you.
You can just say what you gotta say.
Say what
Everybody
I
up here's
need
got
to
thick
say.
skin,
So
say.
you're talking about spending more money and asked him very kindly, why in the world would they be spending more money when we owe so much money?
Mhm.
And he said to me, it's all right to spend more money as long as you have enough money coming in to cover it.
Yes.
Can I ask without being too personal, how much money is coming in to pay for it? Just broad figures.
Those,
I
do you
mean,
have those
just
figures?
broad figures, it doesn't have
So-
to be precise.
So
Yeah,
if,
the
if I
budget.
can, if, if I can just
No,
use
that's what you're
December,
working to.
Yeah, she's
Right?
trying to
answer.
She's gonna answer.
if I can just use December's, and mind you, this is unaudited, and they won't be audited until, what, July?
No, before that.
Okay, so unaudited for 2019, was, net income of $656,169.92.
That was net?
Net income.
That's for the month of December?
No, that's for the.
No, that's for the year.
Okay.
Okay, so that's for the year, and you're wanting to spend how much?
This plan was 1.25.
But they've got we haven't looked at the budget, so.
That money's
He's got the
safe.
1.26.
Yeah, that money's already.
Yeah, there's an account that already has that money in it to build the new.
Right, but yeah, the parks are messed up, roads need a little bit of attention, but, so.
I don't know if we do roads, do we?
Roads are county.
So
You gotta yell.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So we're not talking about going to Walmart to save money, correct?
No.
No.
So we can't go to Walmart instead of Whole Foods. This is a huge expenditure, yeah?
Mhm.
So those of you who have a background in finance, what would you put forward? It's not about us arguing back and forth. It's about those of you who understand finances, and I know there are several of you in here. Could you all get together? Could you talk about it?
Warren Buffett says, don't lose money. That's rule number one. Rule number two is don't lose money.
And I'm not saying that this is a bad idea. enjoy seeing the fact that there are little children there, so that their moms can go, and their dads, I suppose, can go and work out. I love that opportunity, and I love the thought of having extended facilities. I don't love it when I can't pay my bills.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard me say that how many times, but I'm right there with you on this.
So what if you just built a building on the outside, what would it cost, building a steel building on the outside? No walls on the inside, right?
Right, just, you mean an open space?
Just an open space, right?
Around it.
And then you turn it into, half of it becomes a revenue intake center. Because I know that there's a lot of places that are looking for event centers, event planning, you know, weddings, whatever, right? You know, we
I
just
don't
went to
know.
a wedding for my family in up in the mountains, and they held it at a lumber mill and paid $3,000 to get there.
That was a good idea. Just so everybody knows, when they renovated this building here, because Mrs. Fitzy was here when that took place, let's ask this question. How much revenue has this particular room generated since they renovated it?
Yeah, we
This.
generate quite a
Well, how
good
much?
amount.
I mean, so much.
I don't know the exact figure,
Right,
but we've
that's
got
what we're looking at,
classes
because
and.
an ROI is a return on
and
investment.
rentals.
The question
Is that
is,
what the original
with people on fixed incomes in this community, which a lot of people are,
Just a metal open.
veterans like me, or, you know, people that are older, if you go up $10 on your bill, that's still $10.
That's right.
Okay, so the question is, what are you willing to take? In the survey, it was nothing over $10. People were like, no, they didn't care what you could go
So,
stars and so.
hang on a second. To answer your question from the board, when we originally started this process last year, that was what we had requested, was steel building manufacturer in one plain steel building.
I got a guy I can call right now.
And
Well, we first just started off with.
and we actually, hang on, I'm speaking right now.
I'm teasing.
And we actually, that was our first direction, was can we get a price on a steel building, just the steel building to put up over there. Contacting like Armstrong Steel, the steel building itself was gonna be about $400,000. And then all the other stuff along with it, and then we turned it over to Park and Rec to carry that further.
So I mean, that may be some opportunities to look at, and I don't know the details, I know there's a lot of work that's been put into this ahead of time. But like this particular facility, you know, it's a little smaller, so forth and so on. The number one thing on your survey, which I never received, my wife never received either, so. But if the number one thing is weight first, gymnasium second, the plan is, you know, cardio and all of those things, you know, some benefits as far as that goes. Most of that stuff is open floor plan stuff.
Yes.
You know, so I don't know why we need a wood floor for a gymnasium when you can do concrete mats, right? Possibly, I don't know, I'm not an expert, you know, in dance class, right? You know, mirrors, so forth and so on, whatever's needed as far as it goes, I mean, you can tally that all out. But what you're talking about is an open building,
Yes.
right? And then you're talking about putting stuff across, I mean, as it starts to generate revenue, then you take that additional cost to have it pay for itself. And build the walls, and set it aside and build more, so.
Well, I have to bring up again, the aesthetics for the neighbors that have to face it.
That's right.
Sure. So still building's a problem for?
I don't know, I'm just saying, has anybody asked? I'm just saying, I think it is a concern.
Yeah, we're in HOA filing too, you know, I haven't talked to anybody on the board about, you know, putting up a steel shed in the back of my house either, so.
There's no requirements
I know.
in this
There's no HOA
district.
in filing too.
What's that?
There's no HOA in filing too.
I know.
The steel
But
buildings
yet,
can be made to look aesthetically really nice.
well, see, and I don't have a problem with steel building, and I also like the idea, you know, if you're looking at a benefit of doing, you know, brick and mortar on the bottom for a solid foundation, something better, you know, without a huge cost, but it's certainly a good idea. Yeah, those are just suggestions, I mean, you know, I'm thinking open building, you can make use of it, generate revenue with it, and then have it, you know,
Thank you.
build stuff, so.
Thank you.
I think the important thing is that, you know, you guys, we're all in this together, and we are aging. Even those of us who have young children, or who are taking care of young children, we're all aging. And the thought of gathering so much debt is terribly frightening to me.
Yep.
I don't want my kids or their kids having to take that debt. I want them to enjoy it. I want them to enjoy it. I want us to enjoy it. Because the single thought that I can't pay to go swim, I can't pay to go do those activities, that's frightening. That's not what we're supposed to be experiencing in these years. We're supposed to be enjoying them. And
Table it?
It's not my call, it's
We
the
could-
board's call.
Well,
I think we
okay.
should all be on the same committee, that's what I think we should do, that's my 2 cents.
Dilly dilly.
We're just an advisory, we're just doing the legwork and advising,
Yeah.
and that's, we need the direction from you.
On the same committee.
I say we table it until we figure out where we're going with this.
Yeah, we're undecided, let's just table.
I think we have a set of plans, we have some prices. Most of us have already said that's not what we were looking for. We had already spoke about the steel building option. They're reaching out for the steel building company and looking for the cheaper way of doing this. I think so the best thing, we've got some fantastic feedback here tonight. I hope all of you continue to come to these meetings and express yourself.
No, that's the last time.
We'll come get you.
You're probably sick of hearing from us, so.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that we are talking pie in the sky and we have nothing concrete. That if you did a square footage, this room will cost this much. If we reduce it by this much, it will cost this much. If we reduce the square footage, the amount of roof space, because the more roof space you have, the higher your costs are per square footage.
We've asked, that was the last question I asked at
Okay.
the last meeting, was what's the cost per square footage of this building?
And I think if we break it down, this is acceptable, we can live with this for a while, and this is debt we're willing to take on. And if the money is in the bank and you don't have to go out and bond again and refinance,
Don't get us wrong, we are not looking to take on additional debt
Thank
with
you.
this building.
but I think if
I
it's
think that's
broken
what a
down-
major misconception here. This money was reserve revenue
Right.
that was allocated forward for capital improvements for this, not to increase debt. We have no intention of increasing the debt of this district, at least this board.
Yeah, that's good.
Just curious, they said, and I haven't been over there, the rec center east, they said it's crumbling in many places. Are you going to fix that up with that pot of money as well?
We have set aside capital funds already, they're on the back of last year's budget on the capital sheet. That is set aside for stucco and window repair on Rec Center East, that was already allocated, and I think the actual
And
bid.
that would not affect this?
No, that doesn't affect
amount?
this money. This
Okay,
money was
okay.
specifically set aside for,
Cause I don't think it's wise to let something fall apart while you build
no,
something new.
that, takes a while to get all the bids in and try to get the lowest bid or the best bid in some cases, and the best people to fix
We're
that.
looking at the stucco, we're looking at the concrete stairs in the front, some brick in the front is, we're looking at that as well, and the windows in the pool area.
So it's just like any other projects. I know when most of you came in here tonight, there was a slideshow playing of Lift Station One that's been completed by Native Sun. That was one of the projects that we had put out to bid. We took a leap on a company that was moving up here from Arizona to conduct that. They came in at 15% lower than the next bid on the sheet. And we trusted them, and what they provided for us was better than what we had gotten out of our RN Civil contractor for the wastewater treatment facility. It turned out fantastic. And actually it was very well lauded by the county and the school district, for which we, as part of the project, we added an extra row of parking. Plus, we took care of Falcon Elementary School's parking lot flooding problem by putting permeated tiles underneath the gravel on one side to help dissipate the water out of the parking lot on the one end. So those are the type of things that when we're looking at those projects, and even the project of this scale, this much money, what was the last comment that was said the other night, that I said to you the other night, and I said to you the other night? We only get one shot at this, and it has to be right. We don't have a second chance at this. It takes a district like this years to be able to put forward capital funds to be able to do any type of improvements without taking on more debt. Look at Cherokee Water District, they're having to build another $42 million plant over there based on some EPA regulation, and that's more debt to their district on top of what they already had. Our intent is never to add more debt, at least these members up here. is a constant, we constantly are reminding each other, our intent is never to add more debt to this district. We live here. I have 3 kids that attend school here. I live in the community, we work in the community, we do all the extra stuff with the community. So to answer your question, our intent is never to impose, if we're imposing debt on you guys, we're imposing debt on ourselves. And we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do it to ourselves. My kids don't deserve it, your kids don't deserve it. So we're trying to, we've also, I think we've contacted Rachel about a way to get with the bond council on how we accelerated pay our bond payments and debt payments, to be able to add principal payments to them. There is a mechanism to add principal payments to those bond payments, but the notifications have to be made there's a sequence of timeframes throughout the year that you have to notify them. And she has already started researching that process on how we move forward with accelerating our payments. We all see the sunrise on the debt and the refinance and when the interest rates are due to go up. And our job is to try to get ahead of that to where we can stay ahead of it and not generate additional debt. So to answer both of your questions, those are all concerns. And when we sit here and people say, well, we're not willing to make a decision on this, we're not willing to make the wrong decision on this. And that's why we ask so many questions and we take so many turns with the plans and we say, no, this is not what the community asked for. And when we go back and forth on these things. And that's the great thing about having a board with different members that represent different demographics in our community. Yes,
Can I
ma'am.
just say one thing, and it was about what the lady said about the parks. Was that her only recourse, was to come to a meeting and report?
No.
Or do we have like personnel that is supposed to be going out and checking?
She could, yes, and she could have reported it to the district office or the Parks and Rec staff.
Okay.
And that's something that Jerry will go out and look at first thing in the morning, to see what we need to do to repair that.
Now, you were saying that there's money allocated to kind of spruce up east. Is there also money allocated for parks?
There is money in the budget. When we do the budget, there's money allocated in the budget for parks maintenance, trail maintenance. If you actually, is it still on the website, the breakdown of how the money's allocated from the bill to parks, trails, rec center east, rec center west? There's actually a breakdown, a percentage breakdown of the fee, that not all of that parks and rec fee goes to classes or to that. It's broke down in a way to where some of it is allocated to parks, some of it to trails, there are a lot of different, the streetlights fund was used, I think we just signed an execution order to add security lighting here in this parking lot.
Best case scenario, somebody should be going out and checking out
Yes.
these parks.
Yes.
Yes, we have a maintenance supervisor that does it weekly.
Okay.
And her issues will be addressed first thing in the morning, now that we're aware.
Yeah.
So to put this whole rec center
Yes.
east to bed, what is the board's direction to the committee to do right now from here on out?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we want to pause.
Right, I wanna make a motion to table this until we have more time. I think we'll readdress it at the next meeting.
So do you want us to arrest whatever things are in motion?
Yes.
So you want Jim to give the costing on the flip-flopping, or?
If it's gonna cost us money, no. If he's willing to just do that for us,
I don't think he is, but
Then
I'll
no.
ask.
No.
we'll table it for now. So, I made a motion,
But here's my,
So that,
I made a motion to table this until next meeting.
I still have some
so
discussion.
I had a discussion with him after our meeting on Tuesday, so I don't know if he's getting some wheels in motion, so.
No, you're good, go ahead.
Based on what we had talked about.
He's got a question.
I think I'll pause until, as far as the citizen's concerned, come back around to, next month. That's fine. But are you saying, don't get the due diligence on who, what, where, how, why?
We still need the due diligence.
But
We need the operating costs.
we don't
need
know
the-
which route we wanna go. I don't wanna spend more money on drafts when we don't know where we're going? Why would we spend more money on
So
drafts?
it's still gonna cost money. This guy wants-
Instead of pausing everything, how about the board convene a special meeting with the committee so everybody can sit in the same room and talk about it? And then everybody get on the same page and then either move forward, pause, or stop. If a motion was made to convene a special meeting of the committee and the board, then we could table the issue now, move on to the rest of the agenda. It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I got 2 kids that were running
I
around
warned
out
you.
there, they gotta go
Start
back.
No, I believed you. I believed you.
They've got no choice. Thank you, because I know I don't, sometimes enough, I say,
Hang on.
I'll spank them.
What do you wanna table it, you wanna?
Do you wanna let them
pause it all?
continue?
Oh,
Do you wanna get the adjust, I think,
I'm only one person.
Wanna know what the costs are.
Do you want us to continue
What do you wanna
collecting
do? Let them
information?
continue?
Do we have a clue if it's gonna be another $500,
No.
$5,000?
let's pause it until we can meet and discuss a
And do
direction.
with a special meeting?
Yes.
Special meeting?
So you want me to tell him to
Stop.
Please.
Cause he's gonna do it anyway.
Are you?
So,
So just table it.
Can we get him to come to that special meeting?
Great idea.
We will need
I
him at that
certainly can
CMG at
ask
that
him.
special meeting, both him and that other guy, that
And-
engineer. Is it an engineer? Is that other guy that was there?
He's a construction manager.
Okay.
Is
So you had a motion?
I had a motion to table this until next month.
Why did you want to do it to a special meeting?
So I would motion to table it to a special meeting,
So I already made the motion, which means we just have to,
and nobody seconded it, so.
right, so that motion's null and void. Okay. So how do you wanna do, how do you want?
So we will discuss when we're gonna schedule this special meeting to take care of we're gonna take care of all of this special meeting business in one meeting. But I will motion that we table this and move it to the special meeting. And
I
bring,
just messaged him.
and bring in CMG as well as, we will need the full committee there, as well as all the board members, as well as the general manager
And the public.
and the public,
Right,
so.
So that's something.
how long for that?
2 weeks.
Yeah, I was thinking 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Is 2 weeks good for you?
So that's
Yes,
February.
go ahead.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, it's been seconded. Any other discussion? No?
No?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I just hope that somebody's working on what the information that they already have,
Oh, yes.
you know what I mean? That's all I want, you know? Yeah, table
Let's,
Okay.
yes.
Are you talking about February the
If it's not, it'll be posted where, but it should be here.
2 weeks from today, February
February
6th.
6th.
2 weeks from today, February 6th, at
Yes.
6?
6 o'clock.
It's 6 o'clock.
6
Yeah.
o'clock?
6 o'clock.
This is, what you tell them, this is what we want to build. Once you answer that,
What a meeting, man.
then they can tell you.
Ain't even half over.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
Anything else, or was that the basic crux of the Parks and
We
Rec?
got,
You guys can read it, I don't need
Okay.
to report on it if you don't
No.
want to, that's fine.
This can be done. as soon
Water
as
and
you
wastewater.
have a question.
All right, as he mentioned, I had a slideshow up here of construction of lift one, and we're gonna try to get that up on our website, so it's really quite fascinating, it takes you from start to finish, so you can really see what goes into a construction project like that. Our test results are all in compliance with our wastewater plan. Water department is up to speed on all their water sampling. Everything's coming out very well. We're in compliance with everything. I just wanted to mention that, the staff, is continuously, hampered by more regulation. You know, right now we have, new laws concerning the underground, culvert leachate, and it's adding, quite a few more hours onto our staff to comply with that. This is not, you know, this is things we encounter. We don't try to, add cost onto, you know, onto our constituents. A lot of times it's just, you know, basically kind of an unfunded mandate that comes down. This is what you will do, and, you find the staff to, and the time to accomplish it. So, just wanna let you know, not that I'm not saying you're Rachel, I'm just saying, you know, that this is the kind of thing that we face constantly. And of course, you've all probably been, watching the news and learning about the PSAs that, some communities further south are dealing with. It's from, the foaming agents that the Air Force uses. It affects shallow aquifers. However, you know, we are going ahead and testing for PSAs just because we anticipate people will have questions concerning their water quality. Our water sources are very deep, very protected, and so we don't anticipate any difficulties there. But just one other thing, if you have any trouble, you know, with whether it's a park or whatever the case may be, don't wait for a board meeting. Give us a call at the office, we'll deal with it immediately. You know, no sense in waiting a month for another board meeting to come up before you get your concerns addressed, so, thank you.
No matter how adorable.
What's that?
Hurry for good news.
All right, next item will be item number 12, the 2020 annual administrative resolution, which is the annual resolution signing the district boundary. The officers are compliance with the DEO, Tabor.
You just stepped in.
No, this is not the election. This is just the administration functions of the district. It's just the resolution and signing all that. And that is, resolution 2020-01-23.
2001-0, I'm sorry, 0123.
2020-01-23.
Is it part of that packet?
Yes.
It is.
It's right after the water district. Behind, almost back there.
Okay, I remember I saw something.
Not that one. Oh, yeah, there's,
Yeah,
it is past that. There you go.
okay. Oh, dear.
It also signs this as being our meeting place, SDA news, bonds, all that stuff, as far as the SDA goes. I have not signed it, we have to vote on it first.
Okay.
I read it already, it's just, changing our names and stuff like last year's. They're changing anything,
Okay.
and add 20 names as the DEO.
Do you see anything wrong with it? I know it's late.
No, it's not that, it's just because I.
Russell, it's a standard administrative form to have verbatim done year after year. There's nothing new.
The only thing we change is the board members' names, and the DEO's name.
Okay, it's kind of an internal running of the organization
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Okay.
Standard.
So then you're.
I motion we approve the resolution as written.
I second.
Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 13, that's the resolution designating the official custodian of records.
Yes.
Yes.
You can't hear you, Troy.
Okay. The next item will be the resolution designating the official custodian of records. That's resolution number 2020-01-23-01.
I have a question.
So this doesn't contain a point of contact for,
It does the whole office, so that way if staff changes happen or anything happens, it's that district administrative office that deals with it. Like, if one person's gone, it's not just gonna fall through the wayside, it's the office. The SDA, when we were up at the conference, said that you can designate an office as the official custodian instead of a person. That way, with board changes and personnel changes, it's not,
I agree
you're
with that.
constantly.
Okay, so it makes everybody
makes the whole
responsible.
administrative office
Yeah,
the
Even,
OCR.
even the clerk at the front desk that takes the payments.
yes, I mean,
Okay.
it makes it the whole admin office does.
Okay. So I motion we approve the resolution as written.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item will be item 14, the 2020 election resolution. And we have, former Secretary of State Wayne Williams, who's our appointed designated election official for the district, who's gonna speak to it.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here on still Thursday. But no, what you've seen, right, what I've seen is the way democracy works. And none of these individuals got to be here because their grandfather was the director and they inherited it from them through primogeniture or anything like that. So we have an election process. There are a few quirks in the elections process, and I'm going to talk to you about that. But first, a little bit of background for those who don't know. I have been involved in elections in El Paso County for the last 23 years. Was on the canvass board for the clerk and recorder, later served as clerk and recorder, and then as the state's chief election official. I have the distinction of having run an election which I did not win re-election. So I'm one of the few election officials who said they actually certified their opponent winning the election, which not everyone can say. So let me talk about the quirk. Because the people of Colorado established a presidential primary, in this year we have elections, the clerk and recorder is running on March 3rd for the presidential primary, June 20th for the regular primary for your commissioner, House District Representative, and November 3rd for a general election. So you got 3 elections in an even numbered year, which is an unusual number, plus the caucuses on March 7th. So all sorts of things going on. And so the legislature, aware of that, said we really ought to move special district elections to odd years instead of even years. But how do you do that? And the answer is you need to have shorter terms for a period. So this election is for 2 3-year terms. There's also a vacancy that took place with an appointment. That individual, that seat, we finish out the remainder of those 4 years, so there's a 2-year directorship. So essentially we are electing 3 people, 2 3-year terms, 1 2-year term. So if you ever said, I really want to do it, but I don't want to do it in an even number of years, this is your opportunity because we have 3-year terms. So nomination forms are, I actually printed some out, I've emailed them to the district, so they will have them available at the district office. We're trying to make it convenient. Can we also put those on the website for those to come in? Okay, great. So those will be available on the website. They are due on March 28th at 4:30 p.m. at the district office. And we will continue to have a lot of things at the district office because that is easier than telling you to find me, because I don't happen to live out here, so I wanna make it convenient for people. On the idea of making it convenient, this will be a mail ballot election in the resolution that's being proposed. The problem with a polling place election is most people don't even know it exists. And that's the way elections used to be run for special districts, and only the people who knew there was a special district at the local office would go down and vote. Instead, we'll be mailing out ballots to everyone. Those ballots will go out for most people between April 13th and April 20th. I say most people because there's a few special people, those protecting our nation, and so we mail out military ballots 45 days ahead of time to people who are deployed in various places. Let's see, other things. We are working, there will be a mail ballot plan if there are more people running than there are seats. In Colorado, about 85 to 90% of special district elections get canceled because there aren't more people running than there are seats available. In which case, it's a fairly cheap process. But we will take as many affidavits as people want to submit. There's no limit, so if 500 people want to run, then we will have a very long ballot. There is a commitment, you've seen the time they're spending for the vast sum of a bottle of water. Is that what you got out of this? So, in any case, we are working to try and make it a more convenient mail ballot than has been in the past. So I've been in discussions with the clerk and recorder. We want to use the drop box, the 24/7 drop box that's over at Falcon Fire. Now, part of that is we have to coordinate with some construction projects that will be taking place in the Meridian Road area, and so I've been in discussions with the county. So as we get closer, we'll provide those information in the mail ballot plan. In the past, if you want to drop it off, you had to go to the district office during business hours. If we can get access to the 24/7 drop box, so it's easy for you to do it, which is the same way you return your current ballots, the one you're gonna get on March 3rd, or before then, the one you're gonna get on prior to the June primary. You get it, you drop it off. You can also mail it, that's still allowed, but most people prefer to drop it off. And that is a secure facility, by the way, it's under 24/7 video surveillance. I will get to questions in just a second, let me just wrap up. So that's the process that we're gonna follow. The resolution that's in front of the board tonight simply specifies the designated election official, i.e. me, and also then sets it for a mail ballot election. The details of that will come out in the mail ballot plan, which is due on March 11th. So this election, by the way, because I don't think I said it, is on May 5th, 2020. So it's not imminent. What is imminent is the end of February, we need to have any nomination forms. There's also an option to run write-in. There's no signatures required on the regular form. So please, if you want to run normally so that we can print your name on the ballot and people know and they don't misspell it and our election judges have an easier time. That's my request.
You said two dates there. You originally said March 28th nominations.
February
would be due,
28th.
and you said February 28th.
February 20th, my fault. Sometimes as I look down at my notes, my eyesight's not as good as it once was. February 28th, so you've got about a little over a month to make that decision. It's a very complicated form. It requires you to know where you live. It requires you to know an email address. There is, if it's a contested election, there are campaign finance filings required with the Colorado Secretary of State. So that's if you're spending more than $200. So if you want to send it, you can have signs and mailings and go to door to door, or you can just hope everyone knows who you are. The law doesn't tell you what you must do, but does say you have to report if you exceed that threshold. So, questions from the board, and then I'll take from the audience, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Is it possible to move that ballot box up to the other fire station?
Because of that terrible construction, it's gonna be very, very bad to get over there.
So it is the clerk and recorder's Dropbox. And so they are in discussions with the county Department of Transportation as to where that will be, so that will be up to them.
Hopefully they can move it.
Yeah, the option's still there to mail it back, but wherever it is, it's not just this election affected, it's that March 3rd presidential primary and the June 20th regular primary for commissioner and house districts, so there's still gonna be lots of elections going on. So I've talked to county DOT, made them aware of the issue, and then that's why I don't have the final answer. Worst case scenario, if they can't move it and access isn't good, there is also a 24/7 Dropbox at the Black Forest and Woodman intersection. That's a long ways away, but for many people, you're heading into town over the period. And the mailbox in front of your house also works as a Dropbox. So we're working on that. We're trying to do some innovative things to make it a little easier for citizens. Yes, ma'am?
Which corner is it? Woodman Hills and Black Forest?
No, it's Woodman and Black Forest. It is the northwest corner where the park and ride is.
Okay.
So it's, for most of you, if you go into city of Colorado Springs, you're going on one of two roads and that's one of them. Or there's no, yes.
And we still have access during the daytime hours at the district, during their business hours?
So,
Or no?
no, the idea is to use a Dropbox so that we don't have to have election judges waiting there.
Oh, okay.
And plus, that way, for the people who work or who have other things, it's a lot easier not to have to be there.
The mail-in ballot, is that going to a PO box or the district office?
So that-
Because if it goes in the district office, they can't check the mail.
Nope.
Right. So we're working on that. That will all be in the mail ballot plan, which is due on
Okay.
March 11th, so.
Cool.
But the idea would be to make it so the district can, we talked to Jerry about that, to make it so that your staff can get the mail, so we'll have a separate mailing address of some sort. That's what we're working on. Ron?
I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, thanks for coming. So the question is, if I'm not mistaken, do they not have a mobile secure box that they can put in front of the district office? Because a lot of people are gonna think they can bring it there and they can't, so then you're gonna send them over to the fire station. I asked the county once if they had a mobile unit, and they said they could move, they have boxes. So obviously, the question is, because you're asking them to go to a fire station, and you're asking them to go clear down the Black Forest to put a, to do this.
Not, the idea is to try to use one here,
Yeah.
as opposed to the Black Forest, just to clarify.
Right, but it's also not on site, is what I'm saying. The question is, before we had polling in this building, we've had it three times. Okay, now we're not even doing that, and then we used to have it to where the staff had access to the boxes, which I vehemently said, And so now we're going to not even having a ballot box to where if someone wants to pay their bill and drop that ballot off, they can't even do that. So what would the cost be of having someone put in, or have a temporary unit put in there just for this? I mean, is there an extensive cost for that?
So to install, because when I was Secretary of State, we paid for installations across the state, because it has to be secure, it has to have a 24/7 video surveillance, so it runs about $5,000. So, now, I don't know, again, what the county's gonna do, that's part of the negotiations that we're in right now.
So they could potentially,
They may relocate it during the construction or not, they don't. Last I talked to them was a little bit ago, so they may have, they were not ready to say what they were doing yet, because they've not yet coordinated with the county. In terms of that, it is over about a 20-day period that you'll have the ballot, so there's plenty of other time that you will likely be out. Yes, convenient if you're paying your bill, but also convenient if you're heading down to the Walmart or other places that you might be heading to. So, but the idea of being able to do it 24/7, I think makes it a lot easier for most families. And we've found, as Clerk and Recorder and Secretary of State, that the vast majority of people prefer to use the outside 24/7 drop boxes as opposed to a district office. And that's just the numbers we have. Other questions? Sir?
A minutia question, really minutia. I asking about 4:30, okay? If someone shows up at 4:29, they're in time.
Yes,
If they show up at 4:31, they're out of time.
yes.
If they show up at 4:30, are they in or out of time?
It must be in by close of business, which is at 4:30, so it must be in before. If they show up precisely 4:30, yes, but if it's 4:30 and 1 second.
That's too late, but I'm really asking about 4:30. If it shows up at 4, we've had this happen, which is why I'm asking. If it shows up at 4:30, it's still timed.
If you are there precisely at 4:30 and not a second has.
Well, I appreciate the 4:01 issue, okay, I'm asking about 4:30 itself, because that's exactly what we had happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will clarify that in the mail ballot plan and in the instructions.
Okay.
And the reason 4:30 is that's when the district office closes.
Yes.
So,
Well, we
But
used
if
to
they're
have-
being dropped in a drop box at the fire station, how are we gauging that?
The self-nomination form.
so these are two entirely different things.
Oh, you're
The
talking about the
nomination
nomination
form.
forms, I thought he was talking about the ballots.
No. Ballots must be in by 7 PM
Thank you, that's.
on election day.
Okay.
But the nomination form is what I heard the question being.
Okay.
So nomination form at 4:30 on the 28th of February.
Better make it 4:29.
What I will probably phrase it as before, in fact, that's actually in the resolution.
It is.
So, can I, do you wanna clarify?
Which one, the election or the?
Well, it's the same thing as 7 o'clock, it's just, does it mean at 7, or does it mean before, actually before 7?
Okay, so this says nor later than the close of business 4:30.
Okay,
Is
so
what the
4:30 is
resolution
okay.
says. So, that's what the resolution says. In terms of a ballot, they're shut down at 7, but if there is a line of cars at 7, anybody in that line gets to still turn it in.
Yeah.
However, please, if you've got your ballot for 3 weeks, you don't have to wait until the last possible second to turn it in. Because, and there's always folks who wanna do that, and so I would encourage you not to. But it's the same rule when the clerk and recorder is running the election, 7 PM sharp, it ends. And the fact that you are driving through the red light at that time to get there is not sufficient. Please do not drive through red lights. Other questions?
I have one. Is there gonna be a notice sent out to the general public, obviously, because they're gonna have the issue with that standing 24/7 lights? I mean, I know where it is and some
So,
people.
the ballots themselves will tell, the envelope that you were sent, everyone's gonna be told exactly where it needs to be responded to. That will be printed on it. Every single person getting a ballot's gonna have that.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Any questions from the board?
No.
Oh, I have one more question.
So, state law provides that there will be election judges. If you know, we're gonna contact people who've been election judges in the past. If you know someone, please let us know. Couple rules. An election judge cannot be related to someone who is running within 2 degrees.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's fair.
I have no idea. I will tell you that my wife served as an election judge, but then when I was on the ballot, she could not be an election judge. And that's the law, and that's the way it's supposed to be followed. There will be also an opportunity for candidates to appoint watchers in the process who can watch as well. Because we want to make sure that all of this is above board verifiable. It's a paper ballot. And those records are kept actually for 25 months after the election. So there's a lot of process in there. Other questions? Turn it over to you then for consideration of the resolution.
All right, resolution resolution is election resolution for 2020 regular district election. Resolution number 2020-01-23-02. And I motion we approve the resolution as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
You're welcome.
Sorry it waited so long.
Yeah, but you can't go yet.
Sorry you had to stay so long.
You know, I hope you make good decisions on the rec center, and it's a good process. Oh, I did bring a couple of the forms, and the district also has some as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay,
Can I make a comment?
Jared,
Wayne?
I sent it to you 'cause I don't wanna be there tomorrow.
Wayne, while you were Secretary of State, you did a phenomenal job of, I'm a lawyer who gets on there all the time, and the efforts you made to make it easier to use were very much appreciated. You did a wonderful job.
I know how complicated those are, so I apologize.
okay, next item on the agenda will be, public comment regarding current board business.
You're not gonna do the employment thing first, you said? You're gonna slip it on in here?
No,
Yeah,
special meeting.
what's that?
No.
Let's go on to
That
special
was
meeting.
that's going to the special meeting on the 6th.
Okay, alright.
Is there a public comment sheet?
No.
Yeah, there is.
Oh.
Half the people left. I think there's only 2 people left.
People are tired of waiting. Hopefully we covered some of it. Okay, first person on here is Mr. Pace.
Yeah, that's me. I don't need a podium. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. How you doing? I'm Mr. Pace. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to vote. Don't matter who you vote for, just vote. All right, so first up on my agenda is professional courtesy and conduct. And I brought this up last night at a meeting that probably some of you may have been to and some of you were not at. This is the year I'm not gonna be taking it anymore negatively from anybody, okay? Now, recently I've been making requests for documents, and the law is pretty clear. I read it, went back and forth, actually had an attorney explain it to me. You can ask for documents more than once. There is no cap on documents. What I'm trying to figure out is here, you all know what I'm gonna ask for, which is the financial records of this district and how the money's spent and where it's going. It's pretty simple.
Mr. Pace, you're addressing the board.
Yeah, so anyhow, oh, yeah, okay, don't worry about it. Okay, so the problem I have is simply this, you've ignored me. You've ignored my requests. You've disrespected me all over the place by ignoring me, which is just the funniest thing in the world. And yet you want me to show you respect by doing certain things. Okay, so let's go with this. I asked for records that claimed that they weren't there, and they were. Then you said I couldn't have them because the law said I couldn't have them. That turned out to be false. I had to get the IRS involved. The IRS said, no, you can ask for this and this and this. And I went to the county commissioners, and I even showed them the documents. So when are you gonna cut it out? That's the question. I'm just asking for simple records. Where's the money going, and how's it being dispersed or spent? Again, we're the only district that doesn't do it. Then I asked about a nonprofit organization, and you're causing an issue between me and the staff, because when I asked him for those documents, I did it fairly well. And I said, wait a minute, but this document exists. Well, you can't have it because you already have it. Doesn't matter if I have it. If I can't find it, it doesn't matter. You still have to reduce it. The law doesn't say you don't have to. Then we have an adversarial attorney that we've hired. And I've heard every excuse in the book as to what happened. So this is what I know, okay? I know that he was brought in here to take me down a notch, and that didn't go so well. That's why I'm still here, okay? And everybody knows it. And the more I hear from other ex-board members, the more I know that it happened. So you can ignore what I'm telling you, and you can say things about me or negatively depict me or whatever. I know I was there, okay? So the question I had was, you haven't lived up to your promises, and I didn't ask you to live up to every one of them, just a few of them. So you know I'm running, that's automatic, okay? So dadgum the day I get on the other side of that table. Because here's the situation. Everybody in here pays these bills, we're getting older. We ask you to blindly do things, or we expect you to do things blindly without looking, but then when we ask a question, we're shut down. And that's wrong, okay? That should never happen anywhere. Now you're saying, well, what do you have to back that up? I have mountains of records from other districts that, as soon as I asked them for them, well, what do you need? What would you like? I can't even get a check register for stuff that was filed. Then I found an abnormality in a tax return. Does it mean you did something wrong? No. But it looks awfully suspicious when you're sitting there telling me you don't have a record. Because when I look at the record and go, well, wait a minute, here's the tax returns. $891,000. Where did it go? It was there at the beginning of the year, now it's not. Did Rachel take it? No. Did Jerry take it? No. Did you take it? No. But the money was there. So I asked for what? The bank statements. Can't get those. I already have them. That's not the rule. I wouldn't ask you for something if I didn't think I had legal ground to stand on. And I do. And the disrespect I get from this lawyer is above any other lawyer I've ever had to deal with. And if you think that he's that much of an expert that you want to hang on to him, well then I guess the only thing I can tell you is you hope I don't get elected in May. Because that'll be a sorry day. Because I'm not going to let it happen. The fact that you're letting it continue is amazing to me. So, and there's no excuse for it. Like you said, that nice young lady right here said it. We're all going to the same, we're all in the same ball of dirt and expect to be treated the same way. And I politely asked for stuff. What are you hiding? If you have nothing to hide, then there wouldn't be an issue with me having a document. What am I going to do with it? Really, what could I possibly do with a document? Put it on a website? Is that going to hurt somebody? No. And it's no slight against any one of you. But when you don't, when you tell me I can't have something, what is it? If you tell a kid he can't have a candy bar, what's he going to do? He's going to go get that candy bar. So I want you to think about that, because if I have to go and ask a judge for those records, he's going to ask, what's the problem? And I'll tell him what's going on. It's no slight against, you may have done nothing wrong. But when there's an $891,000 abnormality in a tax return and the IRS agent's going, you have a right to get those records. The agent's telling me that and then giving me the forms. You might want to go into executive session and start finding out if we're getting really decent legal advice. I'm not saying it one way or the other, but.
Giving you 5.
Okay, so that's where I'm at. So it's either that or I have to go ask a judge. And I don't want to do that because you know what? Then I have to go in and regardless of how it goes, even if I lose, I still make the effort, which makes you look bad because I had to do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next person on here is Jan Peasy. Are you still here, Jan? Is she out there?
She left.
Okay. Brittany Menard?
She already talked.
We got her, we got her stuff in. Ellen?
No. I'm not on there. Oh, I signed on the wrong thing.
Now you gotta give a speech.
You have 3 minutes.
She can dance.
How about this? You guys doing a good job, and I love all of you.
Oh,
Thank you, Ellen. You guys back there too.
Okay, I know we've been here a long time, but there's a couple items, we're gonna move on to other
Sorry,
business.
my wife signed on the list, it just, I guess she signed on the wrong one.
Well, guess what?
Second, let's
You signed on the public signing. Your Eileen,
sorry.
is it Aileen or
Eileen, either works, really, it doesn't matter.
You know what? It just so happens that the woman sitting next to you did not use her 3 minutes. Would you?
We just switched the allocated time.
We can do that, all right? We can do that. Please, by all means.
I think everyone can hear me if I sit down. I'm extra tall, and I'm pretty sure everyone can see me from right here anyway. My husband and I bought our home here in 2013, 2014, with the rec center in mind. We really do appreciate the rec center. We love what you guys do. Corey, I see you at least 3 times a week. My kiddos come to the rec center. We use the child care facilities, the parents' night out. You guys do a beautiful job. The thing that I am most concerned about is the pool temperature, and I asked about this upon purchasing our home, what temperature the pool was kept at, and it is, we were told at the time it was between 82 and 84 degrees. It's rarely ever at that. The air quality in the facility is pretty bad. It's really hot and muggy in there. We're not allowed to open any doors. Can't keep it at a reasonable temperature on deck, let alone in the water. I do use the pool for lap swim. And, I mean, I was in a high-speed car crash a couple years ago. I broke my sternum in 2 places. I use the water for my therapy, and I have a long road to go. Just, you know, regaining mobility in my arms and things like that. I need this. So, not being able to work out in the pool because it's too hot and I'm worried about passing out is a genuine problem. I've talked to the rotating faces of aquatics directors, I've talked to every lifeguard, I've talked to Corey, I've talked to everyone that I can. It's just too hot. And it's never never within the displayed and guaranteed 82 to 84 degrees. So, I mean, FINA requirements being 79 to 82, I understand it's never gonna be 79, and Corey and I have gone over this a million times. I'm not asking it for it to be 79. I'm asking for it to be between the 82 and 84 degrees that's displayed. Then work out harder. Sorry, you know, we're all working out as hard as we can, but, you know, that is
Every day.
a huge problem.
Go ahead.
I agree I understand all that. To teach water aerobics, the water temperature must be between 83 and 86. I agree, 84, 85, 86 is too hot. The temperature's been averaging 83 degrees. Now, some of the water aerobics ladies will say it's cold, but that's the only way I can teach water aerobics. I'm also a silver sneakers instructor. In order for me to teach, it has to be at least 83 degrees. You know, I understand where you come from, hon, but.
Oh, and I don't wanna freeze anyone out, Fran, I really
No,
don't.
I know.
But, you know, I'm telling you,
There's
it's a
no way
lap
situation.
swim pool, it's not a therapy pool. And if we're going to have this fight over, you know, which one is which, we really need to come to at least a middle ground, which I think is the between 82 and 84 degrees that is displayed. I'm not asking for 79.
We're right now it's at 83.
Last week it was all at 85, sweating me out. I
Not
couldn't
me,
even have a
not when
fan
I was
on
there,
it.
not me, and I teach every day of the week.
Every day that I was there, I'm there 3 times a week.
I'm there
Monday,
5
Wednesday.
times, yeah.
Okay, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the pool was at 85.
Okay, I've always been there, it's been 83. Maybe what we need to do is keep a,
Yeah, so the log is, we do attempt to keep it between 82 and 83. Once it starts to get down to that 82, it's cold, and
yes.
I hear it from a lot of different people when it's 82, and I hear it from a lot of different people when it's 84.
I don't
So
envy your
our-
job on that one, really. Yeah.
It's a
So we
no-win
try,
situation.
our goal is that 83, even if we can do that 83.4. In terms of the humidity in the pool, this is what we were addressing a little bit earlier. The windows, we have been told by structural engineers, is affecting our inside air temp. So we're addressing that. We're hoping to get the new windows in as soon as the weather gets warm, because I'll have to take them out and put them in. So we're hoping that that will alleviate some of that as well. In terms of having the door opens, if you have the door opens, it just it's a domino effect. And
I
keep them
understand
open,
that,
and then,
yeah.
so we try to balance everybody's need. I do know what days I think you're speaking of last week. I'd have to check the log on what it was, but our goal is 83.4, and I can talk to the facility guys. They're the ones that monitor and set the pool temp, so I can certainly talk to them tomorrow. One thing I know, some people think we can turn the temp up at night. For the aerobics at 9 in the morning, you're looking at a lot of gallons of water and a lot of time. Oh, well, I've had that brought up, and I do believe that they used to do that, because that is why our heater ran out so quickly, and we had to purchase a new heater in 2018, I believe we did a new heater. And the old one should have had 10 more years, but we were turning it up, turning it down, turning it up, turning it down. So that's kind of where I believe the 83.4 is kind of our ideal spot. So I'll double check that and kind of bear with us, but the windows are being looked at. We've got a
It is odd when you
professional,
first go in there, I agree.
we have a professional company that's actually doing it. It's way beyond my scope, so.
Sure.
we have a
I mean,
professional
you know,
company.
going in there and
Well,
I
but,
asked for the fan to be turned on at least, I mean,
Well,
you
we
know,
are
something, and
looking
it gets
at
shut off, really,
Yeah.
Fran, you shut
Did
it
we
off
ever,
on me
did we
last
ever
week.
get
Because
cost?
I need a plug.
I know we were doing
Oh.
cost on windows,
I
but the
see
board,
you- it's
the board had
not-
asked last
Yeah,
year
no,
for
I
a
know.
cost on
So,
retractable
and they
doors
can't,
to replace the windows to help with ventilation over there,
Yeah,
even in the
we
summer.
never looked into that, the retractable doors.
That was a request that the board had made.
Yeah. A structural engineer did come out and look at that, I would have to look back at my email.
So I understand that this kind of sounds like a minuscule, amount of degrees, I understand that it doesn't sound like much. In 2017, when I was swimming at this pool, I re-injured my sternum swimming because the viscosity of the water is so thin. So really, I understand that it doesn't sound like much, but it really does affect the pool, a good amount.
And the other concern is that the swim team comes and rents time at the thing, and that's a, revenue positive, rental for the rec center. So what we're asking for is for the board to set a policy of, temperature and to have a policy, because we've had a lot of different answers on, can we have a door open, can we not, can we have a fan on, can we not? If there is one policy that everybody adheres to, it would make things a whole lot simpler. Not everybody's gonna be happy, hell, no one's gonna be happy. But if we have something that where the rules are the same for everybody, I think it would make things a hell of a lot simpler. And, we moved here because she's a swimmer, and there's a lap pool, yay. And it has been a challenge for as long as we've lived here. So we're just,
Yeah,
we've
it really
been
is a-
talking to Corey, she does her best and tries really hard. And we do not envy your job at all. But if there was a policy either set by the board or set by the rec center that everybody adhered to, then it would make it simpler.
Do we have a current policy on the?
The policy is that we try to keep the 82 to 84, our ideal temp is 83.4. So if they backwash, then it's gonna be really cold, and sometimes I know, Fran, that's
Yeah.
when your group gets,
We
cause
can't
they're
I can't teach
backwashing.
if it's 82.
Do we have a policy on doors can't be open or closed? Yes, the policy is the doors cannot be open. It just does a number on the whole
The system.
HVAC system. We had Tolan Manufacturing come out, or Tolan Mechanical come out, I believe it was 2018 as well. There's nothing wrong with our HVAC system, cause I thought our HVAC system wasn't enough to pull the air out. Everything's fine according to everything. He's the one that actually kinda said to us, I think you got an issue with your windows, and he's the one that kinda helped us get the ball rolling.
So what you're saying is once the windows are addressed, then it'll regulate
That-
temperature on the deck better?
That's what we're hoping, because the windows are letting a lot of, air in. They're in backwards, and of course, we've got some, condensation issues. So we're looking at the entire back side of the rec center.
So things are already in motion to fix it.
Yeah,
Like,
we started in the fall, and then it's a 6, 8, 12-week delivery on the windows, so they've been ordered. Now we just need to wait for that weather.
I know you mentioned, you and I talked briefly earlier, about, fans on the deck, or like having fan system
Yeah.
put in, is that still in the works?
Yeah, and ideally, we can put them up, into the ceiling. Of course, when Jeremy and I talked, it's probably unrealistic, because you're gonna need to drain the pool, get a forklift in there, and put things up.
Yeah.
So we are looking at some larger fans, that would do it. Ideally, we would want them in the ceiling, cause then you've got the air rotating. So we do have the ones on the ground, but, we need to get them up into the air.
Sure, I mean, I know CSST that swims there, they're all sweating and,
It's not an ideal temperature for a swim team, as you well know. It needs
Right.
to be that 29 to 80. It's not ideal for a swim team at all.
well, they
So-
do bring in money and they do swim there.
Yeah.
I know the lifeguards that work on deck, that they all think it's way too hot and have to take measures to cool
Well,
themselves off so that they
go in
don't.
the water and they come out. yeah.
Right, so they don't pass out. I don't wanna pass out.
I don't wanna pass
there-
out either.
I'm
Yes, it's
sure,
hot.
yes,
I
and
agree.
the water is hot. So
But
I
the water's
tried
not
to
hot to
start
me.
I tried to start a masters team there, and I had a bunch of people come
And
in,
it was too
and they
warm.
all left because it was too hot. Now, it is advertised as a lap pool. I think that we should be able to have lap swim in that water.
Did you wanna say something, Mary?
If I were to ask you, how many people, when you get complaints, how many do you get for being too hot and how many do you get for being too cold?
Too cold.
Too cold. So when you're talking about, I know your job is the hardest because you're trying to make everyone happy and yet you're getting more complaints about it being too cold than being too hot. So what do you?
Because
do?
all the people that
We're
were swimming
trying-
have been chased off.
Yeah, we're trying to balance, we're trying to balance swim lessons, we're trying to balance active older adults, we're trying to balance, lap swimming, you know, unfortunately, we don't have a lap I'll use Meridian. They anticipated this, so that's why they've got 3 lanes for lap swimming. Then they've got their lazy river that is warmer, where they've got their aerobics
I'm
going on.
gonna let you guys continue this discussion on the side.
Sure.
Otherwise, we're gonna be here until midnight.
It's been brought up.
I mean, that's why I brought it up here, because
appreciate it.
Tori and I have gone round and round on this, you know.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move forward to other business.
I have one thing for other business.
We actually have 2 things that are in here that are not on there.
Oh, yes, there's that Gary Reimers thing.
We have,
And then that thing, yeah, so that quotes, those are the quotes, my thing, the proposal is Jerry's. So
okay,
I don't care which one we do first.
well, let's just knock out the response to the proposal to change the wastewater rates charges based on flow. Okay, and, your recommendation is to not change the current platform.
That's what I would recommend. You can imagine, that, you know, going to a flow-based, rate, we have no idea where we'll be on revenue. You know, with a flat fee, we're pretty solid. And I can understand his argument, but, you know, as I laid it out, there's all kinds of things that are not fair.
I went and looked at this, what you had put in here with the Board of Health, Chapter 8, the water systems regulations, and I would agree with the fact that we would not be able to budget based on this proposal. It would be a budgeting nightmare trying to project.
It would.
Comment? Jerry, you did an excellent job in the rebuttal. Very good.
What's the ask here? Are you asking to send this to Mr. Reimers?
No, I expected him to be here tonight, but you know, that's what I suspected. If you feel like I should respond to him, I'd be glad to.
I believe so. He came in here and made a proposal and took the time to put it together and send it to the district for a response, and he also spoke here. And that would be my recommendation, was that we send the response to him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was this for? I had to step out of the room.
This was a proposal that was brought up, I'll have to go back to my notepad here, by Mr. Reimers on charging by flow rate for wastewater.
Yeah, because of the people that were seniors. That's the word.
Active older adults.
That's right,
Because
they're in their prime.
Some people have.
Yeah, there you go.
Some people have.
Quit reminding me that I'm getting old.
Right, you wanted to reduce it because of the cost, right? So I just used the, okay. Experienced individuals. That's good.
I would motion to send the response as you've written here. It's very well put together. It establishes some great reference there as well. And it's something that we can always bring back up in the future if we can find a way to be able to budget to this. but right now, there is no way in our current systems that we could ever budget for this, in our district. It just doesn't fit the model for the special district. I know he was using references for other special districts, but some of those districts that I looked up are the size of small cities, much larger than here.
And he doesn't factor in that.
And they also had mill levies, all of those
So if they have
districts had mill levies that foot the bill and guarantee.
everyone has a flat rate, and then they add a flow rate on top of it, plus if they have a mill levy, you can see they have a steady income from those things, so the flow rate is not as much of an issue for them. But also, you know, they've been at it for a long time. I think that there'd be a lot of things we didn't expect if we started to go down that road. So, unintended consequences.
But he brought something up, so put a lot of work into it, so, I would motion that we send the response as written.
And second.
Any further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I think we have one other item in the other business that didn't make it on there. Go ahead.
Okay, so this one's it was like the weirdest thing for me to get proposals for you guys, because we need to update our billing software. But to give you proposals for other things, we'd have to change all of our meters and all of our transponders in the district. It'd be very expensive to do that, to change all of our meters out. Plus the inconvenience it would be for our residents. So I would suggest that it's like 73,000 roughly to update or maybe it might be 74, to update our current billing software.
And we have carried, if I remember right, in the budget, we have carried 75,000 for the last 2 years, I believe, on the capital improvements for upgrading that software, if I remember
Well,
right.
that's accounting software that we've carried over, but we definitely budgeted for the billing software this year, because we knew it was coming. So this would just update our billing software, that way, hopefully our billing would go quicker, because we'd be on a cloud-based software instead of a physical server in our office, and that is.
Am I mistaken? They're not supporting our old software.
Yes, our old software is no longer supported, so if something were to go down, it would be very bad for our bills.
You mean we wouldn't be able to bill people?
Yeah.
So the vote is
You're not winning this argument,
Sounds
Rachel.
good to you guys, except for all the revenue, and then we wouldn't be able to pay our bills.
Hey, I'm one of those people that gets a bill.
Our bondholders would take over.
We'd probably just go to one large flat fee for everybody.
That's exactly what the bondholders would do.
Now, does this have to do with this changing out these meters and the prices and that, or is this something totally different?
So that would be the other alternative. If you didn't pick upgrading our billing software, then we would have to change all our meters. Yeah.
Either or.
Either or, yeah.
Yeah, the costs associated with these other ones, this one was
It's crazy.
$101 per meter.
Versus
How much?
$101 per meter.
To change just the meter head though, not the meters. Could you clarify that? It's the meter head. Because there is a difference. There's the meter itself, which is a brass unit, and the head on top of it, which is what they changed out
This
recently.
is the low lead
Yeah,
meter.
the little round thing that goes on
Yes,
top, right, okay,
yes.
so.
But the software is proprietary to the meter reading system we use, so to change software, we have to change over the whole meter reading system.
So just so that the community is aware, the cost estimates on these were, one of them was over $300,000.
That's what it cost the last time.
Another one was even higher than that.
And what was done last time?
They
Was it
changed
same
out the
thing?
heads to the meters, cost us
See?
over $300 grand, remember that?
And that,
Hold on, I have a question though, because I was here for that. They said that what you're asking for was not a proprietary billing system, because I was in the meeting and I asked, I said, is this gonna make us have to use specific software? And he said, no. Now granted, that was, what's his name? What's the fellow, the Gene?
Come on, you know how software companies are.
I know, okay, so just
Proprietary.
give them the money.
The other thing is, I don't know what has happened since then, but we've gone through some different, we've gone through some different changes in that meter system.
Yeah, and the meter system's changed.
So, And you know, I mean, everyone, once you buy anybody's stuff, they wanna lock you in, so.
Oh, no, I agree. The question is, can you buy a non-proprietary software? Is that available? Like Windows, you get Windows 1 through 10 or whatever, that other crap. Can we do, is there a way to buy, like QuickBooks? QuickBooks has 1 through Pro and then Pro 1 through 12, like you guys use. So, or Essentials or whatever the name is, they just changed the name, but the software's still the same. Do they have, is there on the market a software that could be compatible for the next 10 years? So if we did spend, say if we spent 150 grand now, to get a compatible software than to spend 75,000, let it go 3 years and boom, we're back at square one again.
There's nobody out there that makes a software that'll stay relevant for 10 years.
No, but I'm saying, but if it's not proprietary, like if you could.
Wouldn't matter, cause you still gotta upgrade your software.
And
Alright, well, just.
that's what it is, it's just a software upgrade.
So what your recommendation is that we stick with, it's the Kuzi one that you're
Yeah, it's
wanting to
the
go with?
Kuzi National Meter one, they're combined with
And
each
that's
other.
the 73,000 to just upgrade the,
Yeah, billing software we already have.
Yeah.
I wouldn't agree with that, because these other numbers are just crazy. It would take us 3 years to budget enough.
That, and it
To
would
pay
be
for it.
very inconvenient for our residents. to
So,
try.
yeah, cause if we went with new software, they would have to get in everybody's water room or meter room to
Meter room,
replace all that.
And do it again.
So,
Yeah.
Alright.
It's a lifetime of meters.
Well, the meters-
So this one will just be software, so it's seamless on the server end. We don't have to do hardware change, right?
do what?
You're just doing software, not hardware, right?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
I think so.
Hardware would be
It's
300
a
grand.
cloud-based system.
Yeah, it's
Not really.
explained here in the summary, it's just utility
Is this
billing
what we've been
software
trying to do for
upgrade.
3 years?
No, that's the accounting software.
Oh,
I'm
that's
not
what I was
exactly sure
Yeah.
it's in that, so.
So which one of these is it, the Kuzi or the
The
Beacon?
Kuzi and the National Meter are combined with each other, so in
Okay,
order
so
for
they
us
are
to,
combined.
yeah,
Okay.
update the one, it has to update the Kuzi as
Cause the
well.
one has a $3,000 price tag, the other
Yeah,
one has
yeah.
$71,000.
Yeah, so it's that 74 together,
Oh, together.
yeah.
Okay,
Why motion we go with the national and the Kuzi proposal and upgrade the software?
I'll second you. Any further discussion on it?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Is this still other business?
Can be.
Okay, just one small question, because I'm gonna make the request anyway. Do you have a schematic that shows the minimum operating cost for the district? Like if you, when we do a budget, we know we're gonna spend up to this much money. They make a request for money, say it's $10 million, and we're budgeted for 5 million, so we gotta find the other money. Do we have a base cost for what it costs to run this district on a yearly basis?
Well, wouldn't that be in the budget with?
No, that's because in the budget, it also comes with capital improvement expenses. So minus the expenses, say if it cost you.
Separate
Go ahead.
accounts, hang on.
Capital improvement is
Separate accounts. Capital improvement is separate, those separate accounts.
Okay, so do we have a base number for what it costs to operate the district on a yearly basis? They did it 11 years ago when I asked, because
So
Larry
you're
Bishop.
talking about something other than just, our final, budget, our audited budget numbers for?
Okay, the reason I ask is because they used to do a survey study, which is the one I asked for, which is the Wildan study. Have we done any of those recently?
We haven't done one since we've only been on the board for 2 years.
But
I know
have
the
you done-
previous board didn't do one.
They did, I actually have it.
At the start of their term.
Right, so have we done another one?
No.
Okay.
I don't think we have. What was the cost on the last one?
I don't know.
It was $51,000. But it had to be done because they were doing it to raise the rates, so they,
Well, we did a rate study, yeah.
Yeah, there was a
And
rate
we-
study.
And we probably are due for another rate study.
that's why I asked, because it's been so long since the last one.
And that rate,
Let's hold that discussion for, we're pushing
Yeah, okay.
3.5 hours, but definitely something we need to look into.
yeah,
It's
we've,
been that
we've
long.
already discussed it, that we should be looking at it, so it's not anything.
Because I know one of our enterprises is well, the other 2 enterprises in the budget, we had to raise the rates, so I think it's only right. We're getting one right, hopefully we get the other 2 right, and we get the rate study done. Yeah, yeah, I would say that's a discussion we need to have.
I gotta go to bed.
Good point.
I had one thing I wanted to mention before we leave. I'm sorry the crowd thinned out, but, you know, just to make sure everyone's aware of what's going to happen on, Old Meridian.
Yeah.
That, they will be blocking Old Meridian.
Oh, yeah.
The county has a timeline, I don't quite recall, but it's gonna happen soon, I believe, possibly as soon as March. So, access to 24 will not be available on Old Meridian, you'll have to go down Woodman to 24.
He didn't touch on some of the other projects. I know you had a laundry list the other day when you guys were down, I think, down at the county. As far as Old Meridian, New Meridian, Falcon Marketplace,
Bent Grass.
what was the other one? Bent Grass is building out.
Falcon Marketplace.
What was the total,
Falcon Fields.
the total units they're building out to finish Bent Grass is what, 177, I think I read?
Right now, yeah, that's this file.
Christian Brothers Automotive bought the corner lot next to O'Reilly Brothers and will be building there. Falcon Fields is not they're not gonna go forward until I think 21.
Right,
Is the
they're,
current plan.
yeah, exactly, so they're out, then there's also, what they call the man cave.
Yep.
Over by the storage units.
We also have West Water that will be go out to bid in March, which is the new water tank and all the infrastructure lines coming from over there on the west side. And that's the, if I remember right, the larger tank, the 3.5 million gallon tank is what we were going with.
Well, we have the options, you know, with that being the largest, so.
Took a little longer than proposed, and we've covered it a couple of meetings about how the other tank that was put in over there, now we're trying to match the elevation with the county.
And the thing about the county project on Old Meridian is this is another example of, you know, things that happen to us. You know, they're gonna do this project, we have infrastructure in that road, and, they're gonna impact that infrastructure, and so, it's on us to move it. And so, the county's not gonna move it, and it has to be protected, obviously, so, you know, I don't have a number on what it's gonna cost us to address that infrastructure, but, actually, we're meeting tomorrow morning with the contractor that's, doing that project to see if will agree to take care of our needs. But, yeah, so the county just comes up with this plan, and we're stuck with the bill for moving our stuff, so.
It is, I wasn't kidding in our welcoming remarks, it's gonna be a very busy year in Falcon. And I think Meridian's building, what, 1,200 more homes over there?
I imagine, something like that.
And another rec center.
Yeah, they build one for each parts of their sections. My brother bought over there, his section, they have their own rec center. The new one that's going, they'll have their own rec center.
With all that being said, I thank you all once again for being here at this marathon meeting tonight. And I motion we adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.